Peace, greetings to you all. It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abba, aka Mr. Just the Facts. I had to bring the old intro back, fam. You know, we working on some new things over here, but the energy that was needed tonight, the energy that was needed tonight, it had to have the old intro, that whole BTP energy tonight, because we are going to again address the claims made by Umar Johnson, Dr. Umar Johnson, the prince of Pan-Africanism and whatever other lofty titles he has given himself over the years. Make sure y'all share this link out. Make sure you hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to the channel. There's a little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell icon so that you could get notified every single time BTP uploads our dynamic content, and you can become a part of the notification nation. Let's get it, man. I see everybody in the building, in the chat. Black Seed, what's going on? The DMV is in the building. Iron Physique, what's going on? I believe that brother's from LA. Conjure Chris 9, peace. Sister Nita, what's going on? Vince Jefferson, always plugged in. Rocksteady HOG said, said I miss the homies. Umar is an agent and an attention whore, and that I agree with 100%. We got our mods in the building. BTP Riri is on deck. What's good, Sister Riri? We got the Buffalo Lieutenant in the building. What's good, sis? Shout out to all the Freedmen family. Again, make sure y'all share the link out. Yellow Geechee is in the building. Salam, Aki, salam. You know, let's get this thing in. I want to start with several obvious observations. And one of those observations, some of you have heard me bring up before on this channel. I bring it up often. And that's all right. Before I go there, I'm sorry. Before I go there, Sister Dr. Ma'at wasn't able to make it on tonight. She was going to come through with a powerful scholar. We're going to try to go on her platform Thursday. So, you know, I'm going to reach out to some of the fam, because, you know, she called me earlier
with concerns about this $233,000. And we got Brother Chris Larson coming on today. We got Sister Camilla Moore coming on today, and they are going to clear up all of this confusion surrounding this California $233,000. A lot of people don't know what they're talking about. In my opinion, it's a disinformation campaign that I believe is being started by Democratic operatives because they know that this topic is going to dominate the landscape in the 2024 election, and there's no way to escape it. There's no way. So let me get to my observation. I've been watching content from the manosphere for the past maybe 6-7 years. I watch the content that the brothers in the manosphere are responding to, right? The misandrous content. Delete all male babies. And I was able to start putting pieces to the puzzle together about what their platforms were centered on. And it was centered on a common theme that we've seen throughout Freedmen history, and that is the bashing of the quote-unquote black man, the black male. Let me be specific. When I say black man, I'm not speaking of us as a collective. Peace, D. Sister Shanna, what's good? What's going on? Shout out to all of the members of the BTP, Be the Power channel as well. I got to looking at certain information that was being presented. I started listening to a lot of self-help gurus. And I noticed that a lot of what they were saying was centered on shame. And a lot of that shame was about shaming black men. That's why in the manosphere, you hear this term, Pookie and Ray Ray. What's going on, Jonathan Bryant? You hear this term, Pookie and Ray Ray. I can't stand that term. I think it's a pejorative term for black men. And start looking at self-help gurus. I start looking at some of what was being taught in the Nation of Islam, for instance, and y'all have heard me play certain stuff on the platform. I don't know what's going on. Ali, I guess you still connecting. It's not letting me. Oh, there you go. And y'all have heard me put certain information up on the platform. And it was Nuri Muhammad. Where he was talking about we spend money that we don't have on things that we don't need to impress, some nonsense that he said. No, people don't like when you speak out against their cultural heroes and icons and their thought leaders. They don't like that stuff, but the truth is the truth. Recently, I tweeted about a brother named Derek Muhammad, and he made some video. I was just bootstrapperism. He said that the black man is 7 feet tall and we're drowning in 4 feet of water, and all we got to do is just stand up. All we got to do is just stand. Like, all of this stuff that these people are saying is placing the blame on us. And we're going to dig into that tonight. We're going to deconstruct some of these things y'all probably have heard us speak on before. For those of you who are new to the platform, well, you're going to hear it, for the first time, and you're going to hear it from the BTP perspective. I'm going to play a video by our brother Ibrahim that he put together. Brother Ali, did you want to say anything before we play Ibrahim's video? Okay, so Ali dropped off. Okay, yeah, make sure y'all subscribe. If you would like to support the platform, you could Cash App, Be the Power. You can super chat. Support the channel. We're trying to grow it. It was funny. I will give a shout out to my brother Tyrone Sessions, and that's a brother that we've been rocking with each other since the Moorish movement. When Umar came out or with the Breakfast Club interview, he sent the cash. He was like, yo, I just had to send something because we got to build the platform. We got to, because before we play the video, let me tell y'all what Umar did. I went at his tweet that he made from, a clip that he had made on some podcast. And I broke down the nonsense that he was saying about reparations. Broke that down. Tweet went viral. It was picked up by Moguldom. Shout out to Moguldom, the magazine and reporting news agency for the grassroots. Definitely shout out to them. Whatever we do, when we start getting big, they getting a free promo plug for life. Point blank, period. For life. Y'all mark my words on that. Moguldom carried the story, and Umar seeing the attention that it got. Umar was able to see the attention that the Moguldom story carried. And in that, he got upset, obviously. And he called who? The Breakfast Club. And he went on the Breakfast Club and he repeated the same nonsense. And we're going to break some of that stuff down. Brother Ali, did you have anything to say before we played Brother Ibrahim's video? Yeah, I don't think my brother Ali is connected. So I'm going to play the video. Shout out the reps in the building. That's right. Shout out to our sister Ann Brown and our other sister. See if I'm saying her name right. I think it's Akeisha. If I'm not mistaken. That one sister was there. I could be saying her name wrong. She was at the NAASD summit. Beautiful sister, beautiful vibes. You know, it's a family affair when the freedmen that's really about this thing get together. So what I want to do now is I want to play our brother Ibrahim's video because he did an excellent job at breaking down. He did an excellent job. Yeah, Ashika, I was saying it wrong. Thank you, Sister Friday. Shout out to Sister Friday. Shout out to the Cali fam. We see y'all in the building. Yeah, in the building. So let's play this video and let's get this thing going.
Everyone's talking about reparations. Yes. And I support reparations. Yes. But I don't support the way we're going about it. I got 3 issues with reparations. Number 1, getting a payout in any amount from the United States government right now in 2019, 2020 would be the worst thing we could do because we have no community infrastructure, Mary, to trap the money in the inside. You just said it. The black dollar circulates 2 hours before it runs away. So if they gave us 20 trillion, 100 trillion, $1 million trillion, that money would be gone in 2 days. In fact, I would argue that white folks and Chinese is praying you get your reparations.
Dr. Umar has been going around the Chitlin circuit, giving his unsolicited opinion on reparations. And recently, he stopped by the Breakfast Club. And while he does make some valid points when it comes to other subjects, when it comes to reparations, Dr. Umar just can't get it right. Dr. Umar, I thought we had an agreement that you wouldn't say nothing about the reparations movement and we wouldn't say nothing about the FDMG Academy. But here we go again. Anyway, let's get into this video. I'm going to break down where Dr. Umar was wrong.
Well, let's take it a step further. The state of California legislature just approved in the past few days a bill that will give each African American in the state of California $233,000 as a reparations payment.
I think that's some bullshit. I think Gavin Newsom is just doing that because reparations is going to be the buzzword for 2024 to get black people energized.
It is, and it's also a trap. Now, first of all, the reparations movement comes out of the Pan-Africanist movement. We gave birth to reparations. It's not anything new. That's our thing, although it's for the whole people.
There was a lot of misinformation being shared around reparations payments in California this week. This Moguldom article got it right. The fact is, an economist hired by the California Reparations Task Force recommended an estimation for housing discrimination. The task force didn't submit anything, and legislation didn't pass no laws. Most importantly, the reparation movement comes out of the American Freedmen Project. Before the end of the Civil War, efforts for Reconstruction had already started. General Sherman would meet with a group of clergymen led by Garrison Frazier. In this meeting, they would discuss how to get blacks oppressed under the American institution of slavery, who would now all become American freedmen, ways to get acclimated into American society. What comes out of this meeting is Special Field Order 15. The reparationist movement comes out of the American Freedmen Project and Reconstruction. It doesn't come from the Pan-Africanist movement. Sorry, Umar, you're wrong.
Reparations bring every group that was responsible, those who financed the slave ships.
That'd be Nigerians too, though.
Okay, let's talk about that. There was participation from some African kingdoms. We know that Dahomey, for example, which was popularized in the Lion King movie. The Woman King movie. There was some African participation, but guess what? The transatlantic slave trade was a European operation. It was controlled. It grew. It was financed by Europeans. When many of the African nations found out what was really being done to us, because in Africa, there was no concept of chattel slavery. There was no such thing as owning people forever. There was no such thing as perpetual ownership of an entire family line or a bloodline. You understand? There was no such thing as being dehumanized. European slavery stripped African people of our humanity. There's no precedent for that in the world before European chattel slavery. They didn't know what they were getting into. They were wrong and can be held accountable.
The first step to healing is acceptance. My people, we really got to get out of this state of denial. At least a century before the transatlantic slave trade, the continent of Africa had a burgeoning slave trade. Since Charlemagne brought up Nigeria, let's talk about Nigeria for a minute. There's a great article by the New Yorker titled, "My Great-Grandfather, the Nigerian Slave Trader." Here's an excerpt from this article. Long before Europeans arrived, Igbos enslaved other Igbos as punishment for crime, for the payment of debts, and as prisoners of war. The practice differed from slavery in the Americas. Slaves were permitted to move freely in their communities and to own property, but they were also sometimes sacrificed in religious ceremonies or buried alive with their masters to serve them in the next life. When the transatlantic trade began in the 15th century, the demand for slaves spiked. Igbo traders began kidnapping people from distant villages. Sometimes a family would sell off a disgraced relative. In the late 19th century, her grandfather carried a slave trading license from the Royal Niger Company, an English corporation that ruled southern Nigeria. His agents captured slaves across the region and passed them to middlemen, who brought them to the ports of Bonny and Calabar and sold them to white merchants. Funeral rites for a distinguished Igbo man traditionally included the slaying of livestock, usually as many cows as his family can afford. In Wabani, Ogogu was so esteemed that when he died, a leper was killed and 6 slaves were buried alive with him. There's nothing humane about being buried alive, nothing at all. And while the transatlantic slave trade would eventually become more brutal, this would not have been possible without participation from certain African kingdoms. Between the 15th and 19th centuries, nearly 1.5 million Igbo slaves were sent across the Middle Passage. You seriously believe these Nigerian slave traders didn't know where they was getting into, where they was sending other people from their community and surrounding regions into? They knew exactly what was going on in America. You know how I know? There are stories of Nigerian kings and dignitaries who sent their children on slave ships to get educated from universities in America. And then they was able to come back to Africa as free men.
Because they suffered during colonization as much as we did in slavery. So I reject any proposal that wants to make African people more liable for slavery than the white people who owned, controlled, expanded, and benefited.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah, they're definitely not more liable. It's just like you said, everybody.
Nor are they equally liable.
All equally. Everybody needs to be at the table.
Absolutely, but Africa don't owe us reparations. They owe us as a people internal reparations, just like we owe ourselves
What
as
the
a
hell
people
is
internal
internal
reparations. Here's what I want to say.
Dr. Umar is so out of touch with this subject. The reparation movement in America isn't even focused on international compensation. Not yet, anyway. American Freedmen are specifically focused on acknowledgement, redress, and closure for the atrocities that happened in America during chattel slavery and remedying the badges of slavery that still plague our communities today. But if you want to bring up an international claim, I would have to say everybody that was complicit in the transatlantic slave trade, including African nations and kingdoms, do owe reparations. And there's no such thing they owe us internal reparations. No, you owe us reparations.
A cash payout for reparations is a trap. And the reason a cash payout for reparations is a trap is because so much of what needs to be fixed in American society for African people will take more than cash to do it. In other words, I give DJ Envy $233,000. Or if I take the Bob Johnson plan, he said each American African is due $350,000, right? I give you $350,000. Does that stop mass incarceration?
Nope.
Does that stop miseducation? Does that stop gentrification? Does that stop police genocide? Does that guarantee us access to wealth? I mean, in the state of California, what can you get with $233,000? I'm not even sure if that's enough for a house. And on top of that, the minute they give you the payment, they can reduce the value of the payment through inflation. So I can flood the economy with money so the 233 is only worth 120 in about 24 hours. And then guess what they're going to do after they give the reparations to African people? They're going to find subsidy programs to give to the LGBTQ, to the women, to immigrants, to other people. So at the end of the day, what looked like a step up for black people would be a step back.
So let me get this right. You don't mind soliciting funds from these same poor black folks to build a school. But when it comes to the government paying out cash payments, you got all the excuses in the world. The reason our trauma lingers on is because in America, everything costs. And as a community, we don't have the resources to get the help that we need. Reparations is the most important conversation in the American Freedmen community today. But you can't just shoot from the hip. You got to actually know what you're talking about. And Dr. Umar doesn't know what he's talking about. One of the reasons is he doesn't follow no real reparations organization. He doesn't follow anybody at all. Almost 900,000 followers, and this man is following 0 people. Dr. Umar is a reparations obstructionist. He doesn't even know the black buying power is a myth. If you want to learn about this reparations movement and get involved, here are some great organizations. CJAC, NAASD. Go on their website at naasd.org, download the Repair Act, the United States Freedmen Project, and the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. That's usadof.org. And before you go, here's the legal definition of reparation given to you by our sister Camilla Moore.
I'll add, as an international human rights scholar, there's a legal definition for what reparations is. So under international law, reparations comes in 5 forms. So compensation or cash must be included because that's one of the forms of reparations under international law. But there's also restitution, and that accounts for stolen land, stolen labor, stolen property, real or intellectual. So that's relevant in the entertainment space in terms of the cultural contributions of African Americans, right? The other form of reparations under international law is rehabilitation. So that can look like free medical care from birth to death, free education, free legal and trauma services. Then there's satisfaction, which accounts for more symbolic forms of reparations, like a formal apology, the taking down of Confederate monuments, and the erecting of statues that honor our ancestors, for instance. And then the last, or the 5th form of reparations under international law is guarantees of non-repetition. So that gets at more structural and institutional policy change. So my personal opinion is that you cannot call a reparations package reparations unless it includes all 5 of those forms. So it has to include cash, it has to include a check, it has to include restitution, it has to include rehabilitation, it has to include satisfaction, and it has to include guarantees of non-repetition.
My bad, I'm on mute. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Excellent video by my brother Ibrahim. We're gonna have to work on your you sound like you whispering, like you sneaking and doing it, and then brother Umar, you got it wrong. I got rib my bro. But we got our sister Camilla Moore in the building. What's going on, sis?
Hello. How you doing?
I'm
Sorry
good.
for
I'm
the
good.
lighting. Oh my gosh.
I'm good. It's good to have you on. You heard the nonsense. You heard the nonsense by Umar, and
Mhm.
we want to address this stuff. We want to get this thing addressed, and we want to really shut it down once and for all. And what better person to come on? I know brother Chris Larson said he'll be on as well.
Great.
Than the chair of the actual task force, because I got a call earlier, Sister Camilla,
Mhm.
from my good sister Dr. Ma'at out of Baltimore. Shout out to Sister Dr. Ma'at. She was supposed to be on with us tonight, but she was coming from a funeral, so things, her timing just wasn't able to line up with ours. But she was like, this $233,000 out of it. And of course, you got Umar on the Breakfast Club talking nonsensical, right? And it's not just Umar, sis. It's all over. I was in the Luke space last night. I seen that you was in there for a couple minutes as well. It seems like there's this disinformation campaign going on, and it seems every success that comes out of the successful, let me add, California reparations push. Some people don't like to use that term, reparations, state act of atonement push, if that makes people feel any better, right? Other people are trying to turn it into some form of negative. So, being that you are here, Chair Moore, we would like for you to just give the people a breakdown of this whole $233,000 thing, et cetera, et cetera. Shout out to our brother Marlon Watson in the building. Peace, bro. Go ahead, sis.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Just the first thing I want to clear up is one, the task force has not recommended any final recommendations yet, let alone recommendations related to compensation with monetary figures. So for folks who are saying that the task force is recommending 200 and such $1,000 in reparations in the form of compensation, that is not true. Just flat out not true. The task force meets again literally in a couple of days, Wednesday and Thursday at Oakland City Hall, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. both days. And in terms of what's going to be on the agenda, as I've told other journalists, this past year I've characterized as a study phase. This next and final year I characterize as the development stage, where the task force will, over the next 6-7 months left in this process, will begin to determine what these final recommendations will be, including recommendations related to compensation. But we are literally in the beginning of the development phase. So thus there are no final recommendations, especially for money. So where people are getting this $200,000 figure from, to conclude, is a figure that was given to us as an estimation of the state of California's maximum culpability for housing discrimination from the time periods of 1933 to 1977. Those figures were given to us by the 5 economic consultant member team that we hired over the summer. And they have over
Well,
the summer.
wait, sis. So this isn't just some arbitrary number that you guys just pulled out of a hat, just wrote down. It was like, what y'all think about 233K? Like, yeah, I think that'll be the economists actually sat down, crunched the numbers, and they came up with that figure, correct?
Correct. It was from that figure is from a scope of work document that the 5-member economic consultant team came up with, and they presented to us at our September hearing in LA. And again, that 200,000 something number is on the economic consultant team's theory, it represents the state of California's maximum culpability for racist redlining practices, and other forms of housing discrimination from a specific area of time, 1933 to 1977. And also, that figure is that much in the event that all Black people in California living today are eligible for reparations in the form of housing discrimination. So, again, that really only represents the maximum culpability of the state of California for housing discrimination for a particular time period. But in reality, and if you look at the scope of work document that The Economist provided, they go on to say, in reality, that number actually would be minimized when you take into the fact that the task force has already decided in March that the community of eligibility will be lineage based rather than race based. So nowhere in our recommendations will all Black people be eligible for any forms of reparations, because we already decided in March that we would define the eligibility from a lineage standard rather than a race-based standard. So again, that was just like kind of like a economic modeling theory. If all Black people so happen to be eligible for reparations for housing discrimination, they would be owed this much. But in reality, that's really not going to be the case when you take into account of the fact, one, we came to a lineage versus a race-based decision in March. And then two, when you really look into who was actually impacted by housing discrimination by that particular time period, it most likely won't be all Black folks.
Indeed, indeed. So I'm so glad that you're on. I forgot to send Chris the link. That was him just texting me. I thought I sent the link out, and obviously I didn't. But I, being in the Twitter space universe with the Twitter, what I call the Twitter space cadets, I hear a lot of chatter from people who are experts at nothing at all, and they do not understand the nuance. And while I got you, I want to ask you a question, right? Because I actually support a study. And there are people that don't support a study, right? And I'm pretty certain you've heard some of the, well, we don't need no study because yada, yada, yada. And in some cases, I actually understand what people mean when they say that. But this situation is sort of different. Can you explain to the family why having a study, whether it's California or the federal government, is so vital to this process?
Well, the study in terms of the California Reparations Task Force culminated into this 500-page, 13-chapter report that we released in June 1. And yes, while most of the, data in that report is, nothing new, sources are from, people who have studied this work for a living. It was a space for us to, through our study, through this report, kind of create our narrative, control our narrative. And the narrative that came out of this report is that, there are badges and incidents of slavery that still linger on in this country, still impact us.
Yeah, I think our sister froze up, or is that me? Ali, can you hear me?
It's just kind of really, I agree with this, with the sentiment that why do we need these studies? Don't we know what the issues are? If you're strategic about it, you'll utilize that to your advantage, engage in the study, use it as a way to frame the narrative, and use it as an organizing tool to kind of get to the larger goal, which is actual reparations, so that the material lives of the descendants of slaves can actually change for the better.
And what people need to understand in that regard, right? And I'm not knocking those that say we don't need a study, and I hope they don't take it that way. I support the study. I may have wavered on the subject over the past 2 or 3 years, but I actually do support.
Same. I said same.
Yeah. So what the report that came out of the task force, I'm glad that Brother Chris Larson does those readings on Monday night, because it was such a large document. I got through maybe the first couple chapters of it, right? And I know you said that it's not necessarily new information. But I think the way that report is structured is not necessarily about it being new information. It's about laying out. That's right. It's comprehensive, and it lays out the A to Z, particularly why Californians, freedmen Californians, need reparations, and it gives us the blueprint, a successful blueprint on what is needed at the federal level. That's why I do not knock these local. If you don't want to say reparation initiatives, these local state act of atonement initiatives, right? Because they are setting a stage for what needs to be done at the federal level. And I keep telling people over and over and over again, California is setting the standard. Sister Camilla Moore, our sister Friday, our brother Chad, brother Marcus, our sister Tiffany Quarles, our sister Shanna that's in the chat. That's one of our BTP members. Our brother right here, brother Chris Larson, is in the building. What's going on, bro? You know, so we're having a discussion.
Respect, Chris.
Respect. What's up, y'all?
Honest, man. It's good.
Madam Chair.
you know, it's good to have you on, brother. I asked Sister Camilla the question about the 233,000 and some of the misconceptions that are being floated out there. I'm calling it a straight disinformation campaign. What Umar did to me was a part and parcel of that disinformation campaign. So I would like for you to come on and give a breakdown, and then we'll just get into some of Umar's problematic statements that he made.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for doing this show, and thank you for talking about this. It's important because there's going to be a lot of misinformation, disinformation, false information, fake news, however you want to put it. There's going to be a lot of that, especially over the next year or so. And so what I really want to do, in addition to helping people understand more about what's going on and where we are in the process of creating California reparations and making California the first state to actually do reparations, what I want to do is, by the way, shout out to everybody in the chat too. Big love, everybody watching YouTube, wherever you watching that, listening at. Big shout out to you. Thank you so much. But what I want to do is, in addition to helping clear up some information, but just before I even do that, just warn folks that there's going to be a lot, especially over the next year and into even 2024, as we get closer and closer to an actual reparations bill. There's going to be a lot of misinformation, disinformation, etc., that's going to be purposely put out to hurt what we're doing here. And it's going to come from a number of different places. And we very much expect it. We are very much prepared for it. But I want to make sure that the audience and the family watching know that there will be intentional, on purpose, not by accident, misinformation and disinformation put out to hurt what we're doing here in California. So keep your eye out and keep your ears open to that, because that's gonna be happening. And make sure you are connected to people who are actually connected to the correct information, to the accurate information, who are part of this work and who are boots on the ground and wings in the air, as I also like to put it too. Make sure you are getting the correct information. One way you can do that is by going to the website of the Coalition for a Just and Equitable California, CJEC-official.org. That's www.cjec-official.org. On the front page, homepage, there's a form for you to fill out to get on our newsletter list. We put out a California reparations newsletter once a month. That is a very credible, reputable source for all things California reparations. And of course, you can also always reach out to us at CJEC Official on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Facebook, in addition to our website too, to get the correct and accurate information. So just to the question here, and I'll try to be as brief as possible. I'm pretty sure Madam Chair did an excellent job explaining. But just to give some folks some context around where does the 223,000, 233,000 number come from? They come from some of the examples of calculations or estimations or numbers that the team of economists that the task force hired late last year, early this year, to answer the question of how much is California reparations going to cost? What's the price tag for reparations in California? So to answer that question, the reparations task force hired some really, really smart people, some really, really smart economists to give us an understanding of how we put a price tag on California reparations. And originally, the economists gave the reparations task force two choices. They said you could get an answer for this question if what you want is for us to close the racial wealth gap, or you could get an answer for this question if you want us to help you understand how to make California pay for what California is specifically responsible for. And the California Reparations Task Force, given those two choices, said, we want you to give us an answer on how much is California reparations going to cost by making California pay for what California is specifically responsible for. So this was back in April. So the economist said, okay, thank you. In addition to that, thank you. We are speaking about the descendants of U.S. slavery, those who are the descendants of those who were emancipated, the American Freedmen. And so thank you for helping us understand who this is for and how you want us to answer this question. And so the economists back in April said, thank you, and we'll be back. And so they came back in September at the hearings in Los Angeles and said, task force members, we have some early ideas, some early estimates, some early answers to this question. For example, if you take this specific type of harm or this specific type of atrocity or this specific type of thing that needs to be repaired that California is specifically responsible for, this is how we have been thinking about how to put a price tag on it. This is how we're thinking about it. This is one way that we have put a price tag on it. And they said, for example, if you talk about, or if you are wanting us to put a price tag on what was done to us physically and our physical health and our mental health, here's one way that we put a price tag on that. If you want us to put a price tag on what was done to our brothers and sisters locked up and what they've lost from being locked up, here's one way to put a price tag on that. And then they also said, if you want us to put a price tag on what was done to us in housing, here's one way to put a price tag on that. And when they was talking about the housing, they quoted a number of around 223,000 or 233,000, something along that lines, about how they could put a price tag on what was done to us and what we're owed from the housing and from the houselessness, etc. They specifically focused on what we talk about as redlining, which I'm sure this audience is very, very much aware of what that is. But just generally speaking, that was a practice that was started really in the middle, 1900s, maybe like 1930s ish, and was supposed to be on paper ended in the 1970s. Although we know it still went on, and many people think that what we experienced in the 2000s, like between 2003 and 2009 or so, many people call that the era of reverse redlining. But the economists said, if we think about just what was done to us from redlining, we have some ways to put a price tag on it. And when we did our math, the amount was about $2,000 per year per person who was eligible for reparations in California. Or if you add that up, 223,000, 233,000, something along those lines, dollars.
So people are running with news headlines, right? Media headlines, and blowing things out of proportion. They're not studied on the topic. I'm listening, right? I'm listening all over to the Twitter Space Cadets. I listen to Umar, and I'm like, these people are not paying any attention. Everybody retweeted Sister Camilla's tweet, and you know what we see is that for content, people will say anything. We're not on BTP right now just to be content creators. I don't look at myself as a content creator when I'm coming on. I look at this as a platform, a medium by which we can teach and push this information out and bolster what we're doing in this particular space. That's it. We're not here to do any sensationalism, no yellow journalism, none of the nonsense. We're here to strictly deal with the facts. And we see so much misinformation. We have so many people that are talking and talking and talking about reparations and don't know what the hell they're talking about. So I'm so glad that yourself and Sister Camilla came on and cleared up this misinformation. And I definitely want y'all to stay on for as long as y'all can, because I want to touch on more of the Umar stuff. And if you have anything more you want to add, brother, just go ahead and finish.
Yeah, just one.
Down. Yeah, then we'll get into it, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Just a couple more things, because I do got to break out. But I definitely wanted to make sure that I came and spoke to the family, because there's gonna be, and as I was saying to start, some of what's out there is on purposely wrong. It's on purpose wrong. And I want the family to keep this in mind and look at this as an example of what we can expect to see more of. There will be purposely wrong things said about what's going on here to try to hurt what we're doing here. It won't work, but we should expect to see more of it. One thing that was said that I saw was that the California Reparations Task Force either has recommended or will recommend this $223,000, et cetera, et cetera. The California Reparations Task Force, outside of the preliminary recommendations that's in this report right here, this first report of the California Reparations Task Force, outside, right on it. Yep. There it is. Outside of what's in the preliminary recommendations, there have been no final recommendations. So I want to say that again. There have been no final recommendations at all. None.
Let me unmute. I gotta unmute and just stress what you just said. No final recommendations, family. No. I guess
not yet.
Let me be
not yet.
And I don't want to sound condescending.
Now, those final recommendations are on the way. They'll be here in June or July of 2023, and that's what Madam Chair and her colleagues are working on right now. And this is important for folks to understand too. This is one of the most common questions I get when I go out and talk to folks. We just did a reparations information session here in Sacramento, California, just this past Saturday. One of the most common questions I got and continue to get is, what's next? What happens next? What happens after June or July of 2023? And this is an important thing to be thinking about, especially as we're talking about misinformation and disinformation about what is or could be in the final recommendations. Right now, the Reparations Task Force is creating the reparations plan. They're creating what will be in the reparations plan. That plan will be out publicly by June, let's say July of 2023. So right now, Madam Chair and her colleagues are working on what's in the plan that will have the final recommendations in it. Nothing is final until it's in that final report as it relates to a reparations plan. So there are no final recommendations out right now, and nothing is final as far as it relates to a reparations plan until it's in that reparations plan that we get in June or as late as July of 2023. That's important to say. That plan then will be given to the state senators, the state assembly members, and to the governor here in California to turn into legislation and then to ultimately pass as California and really the country's first state reparations bill. So that plan will have the recommendations in it the how much money, the how much land, the how much, et cetera, et cetera. But that final plan is due in June/July of 2023.
Indeed. Oh man, I'm so glad. I just like facts. I just, I look. I tout myself as Mr. Just the Facts, right? And I don't know 100% everything. I get it wrong every so often. Sometimes I get my peoples may hit me on the back channel, be like, "Yo, Abba, I'll be like, oh, word, shit, I said the wrong." That happens, right? But we strive to get it right. We strive. And when you hear people speak with such confidence about something that they know nothing about, and these people parade themselves as princes and kings of Pan-Africanism and whatever, right?
Pro,
Go
pro,
ahead, Ali.
provisional governors and provisional presidents and all that kind of
You
shit.
know what I'm saying? Provisional presidents and all of that type of stuff. That's a dig. We ain't gonna get too deep into that dig, right? That's gonna open up a whole nother conversation. The Pan-Africanists really are gonna get upset. But Ali, did you want to add anything? And we go back to our sister Camilla.
No, yeah, let's go back. But I just wanted to stress basically like something Sister Shanna said, and it just really sums up everything that Brother Chris was just talking about. If it's not coming from CJEC or the task force directly, leave it alone. Get the information directly from the source. These people have proximity. They're right there with everything that's going on. So if you really want to know what's going on, you don't need to listen to Umar or some talking head, talking nonsense on Twitter or YouTube or the Breakfast Club or whatever. You just go to the source. The sources are right there. Brother gave out the website, CJEC's website, task force. You listen. Come on, it's too easy to access. But people like believing. People like believing conspiracy theories too much, man. It's like,
Yep.
Nonsense. And we're gonna, like he said, we're gonna have a lot of that. What's the guy that was talking to Kanye West? What's the dude? The white guy who said that reparationists are being divisive. Us
Alex
trying to
Jones.
Alex Jones. Yeah, so it's gonna be there for sure. We've already seen it. They're on Twitter. You've seen Alex Jones, the guy from Europe that wrote about reparations being revenge.
Douglas K. Murray.
Yeah, so we got them inside the country, outside the country. Everybody feel like they have something to say about it. So it's going to be there. But just get the information from CJEC and the task force. That's
all
it.
you got to do,
it's
man.
Real simple.
Sister Ross, shout out to Sister Ross. She said Umar needs to get his school together. And before you go, Sister Camilla, because we were talking about this earlier, Umar's obstruction is based on his unchecked ego. Ibrahim brought up an excellent point in that video where he said this man has almost 900,000 followers and he follows no one. That means he listens to no one but himself. And you have to think, if we were to get these direct cash payments, that's just one aspect of a reparative justice package. And we heard Madam Chair break that down at the at the Revolt Summit, which also played at the end of Ibrahim's video that we played earlier, where she was breaking down the 5 forms of reparations. So and the institutions, right? When we're talking about restitution, for instance, the land that we've lost and the fact that we've had poor education and that our schools were always underfunded. Now there's an investment in freedmen schools, and that kills Umar's grift of getting you to stop spending money on grits and other breakfast items. I might play that video so you can donate to building up his school. And I think that bothers him. He's like, wait a minute, if they get cash, they're going to put their money together and they're going to build up their own school. They're going to probably point out how Frederick Douglass, what's the other, Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey's ideology don't even go together. A. Philip Randolph and the Freedmen back in the days were vehemently against Marcus Garvey back in the days. And we can pull all of that stuff up. How are you having an academy based on men that had two opposing views of each other? See, all of these things will start to come into play. It's like, excuse me, Mr. Principal, I've been doing some studying in your school, and I noticed that Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey, these two things don't match here. You know, how do you justify that? And I guess the brother would start making up some nonsense. But yeah, Sister Camilla, just go in. You know, we lead into more of the Umar stuff. Just give a breakdown of anything you want to touch on. Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks again for having me. It was a pleasure to just be on and correct information along with Chris. I'll leave it to you all in terms of like grilling Umar. I think the only thing I'll say to that is, you know, I had a conversation with Umar on one of these like social apps, and I think the only thing I'll say about him, and I think he's well-intentioned, but I think like his scope in terms of like history stops at Garvey. That's what I noticed when I had a conversation with him, because for instance, he had no clue who Cali House was or Isaiah Dickerson. And so I think that's like, that tells everything that we need to know, kind of about like his views on reparations. And, you know, there's limits to it because, you know, in terms of his worldview, like he comes from that Garvey. He doesn't really know anything past it. But yeah, and I guess just to conclude, for folks who are interested, you can go to our public hearings, which will be happening Wednesday and Thursday of this week at Oakland City Hall, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. both days. You can also tune in virtually. If you go to our website, oag.ca.gov/AB3121/meetings, you will find the meeting agenda is on there. The meeting materials for the 2-day hearing will also be posted on there very soon, probably tonight, no later than tomorrow. And then in terms of like the major takeaways from this upcoming hearing, one, we've invited leaders of different local and municipal reparation initiatives. For instance, Friday Jones from the vice chair of LA Reparations Commission and the co-chair of National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants. She will be presenting several other different cities across the state of California who have reparations initiatives for African Americans. Will also be there to share their incredible work, like Oakland, Russell City or Hayward, Palm Springs, etc. And if certain local leaders weren't able to make it at this upcoming hearing, we're also re-inviting them back at our January meeting in San Diego. And then the other major takeaways from this upcoming hearing are that the task force, again, we're in the beginning of the development stage. So to Chris's point, we have not come up with final recommendations yet. Those won't come until the end of the task force, which is July 1 of this upcoming year. But at this upcoming hearing, it's incredibly important for the descendant community, the community of eligibility, to be present from and engage from this point on, because the task force is in that development stage where we're beginning to determine what those final recommendations might be. And as Ibrahim showed a video of me talking about the 5 forms of reparations under international law, another dictate of reparatory justice under international law is that the victim group decides, determines like what repair looks like for them. So it's not enough for me and my 8 other esteemed colleagues to be doing this work. We are honored to do so. But under international law, it's really the community that's supposed to be staying engaged with the process and helping to determine what those final recommendations will be. So from this point on, we really want the community to be engaged, and increasingly so as we go towards the sunset of the task force in July.
Indeed, you wanted to camel back off that, Chris?
Yeah, definitely. And Wow, that's such an amazing point. I'm glad you made that point, Madam Chair, because it's so correct and right, especially right now. I want to restate what you said so I can hear it again, so that the family can hear it again too. In reparations work, anywhere where it's done correctly, the group that's eligible, the group that's the victim group, the group that who is for decides what it is. That's important, especially right now, as the chair just said, because the State Reparations Commission here in California is putting together what's going to be in the final plan. And so right now, your thoughts and your ideas matter as much as they ever been, even if not more. So in addition to doing exactly what Madam Chair said, going to the task force hearings, give public comment during the hearings. First hour of every single hearing is public comment. It's you. Tell the task force what you want in that final plan. Tell them how much money you want. Tell them how much land and property you want. Tell them for how long you don't want to pay no taxes, or for how much higher your credit score got to go. However, whatever you want, tell them now. Also, you don't have to wait until the public hearing. You can talk to the Reparations Task Force any day, every day. They have an email list. You can get on the email list. So, excuse me, you can email them. There's a phone number where you can leave a voicemail. You can leave a voicemail with them. It's transcribed. So make sure you are communicating, talking to the task force directly, any day, every day. You don't have to wait for a hearing, but hearings are very good times to do that. Last thing I'll say is, and then I'm gonna let y'all go, is this. So I want to give a big shout out to everybody that's been supporting, working. Big shout out to the whole BTP family. Love y'all work. Y'all know we brothers. We family. But I also want to give a shout out to the whole CJEC family too, because the CJEC family, and specifically our team that has been working on reparations proposals and plans. So we have a team that's been doing and putting together community-based and community-sourced reparations proposals and plans. And I want to give a big shout out to the lead for that team, Tiffany Quarles, out of our LA partner, the National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants, Los Angeles. Tiffany led a team for the past 3 months that have been meeting and working to put together community-sourced and community-based reparations proposals and plans. That work is going to continue, but that's just one example of regular folks just like me and you telling the task force what we want and what we want to see in that final plan. So again, thank you to the whole CJEC family. Thank you to everybody. Make sure everybody, if you can't be there in person in Oakland, watch it virtually. It'll be streamed exactly where the chair said. Also will be streamed at ETM Media Group on YouTube. Also will be streamed on our website, cjec-official.org, on our videos tab, so you can watch it there too. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you catch the replay if you can't watch it live, and we'll see you there.
Honest, brother. Thank you for coming on, man. And
Yes,
pleasure's
sir.
all mine. The pleasure's all mine. Big shout out to Ali. Big shout out to my good brother Ibrahim. Love.
Oh, definitely, man.
No
Definitely,
doubt, bro.
Anytime you need to come on and clear up anything, brother, anything you want to get off, just let me know. You already know we here.
We'll do.
You know, we know there's a bunch of platforms that the family can go on, but we want y'all to come to BTP and let it be known to, you know, because I want people to know that we are a family from coast to coast, from north to south. We are one Freedman family bearing one free national name, American Freedmen. So I just want to give a shout out to you, brother Chris. I want to give a shout out to our sister Camilla. Again, thank you for coming through, man. Honest.
Love. Blessings, and y'all be safe.
Oh, same to you, brother, man. Peace, man. So, Ali, man, where you want to go with this thing next, brother Ibrahim? What you want to do, brother Ibrahim? But let's, you know, I'm glad we started off. You know, we started off playing the video.
Let me ask you this: where's our sister, Dr. Ma'at? She's coming.
No, she couldn't make it. She was at a funeral. And and she, by the time she was like, she wouldn't have been able to get in, and we were trying to do a simulcast for stream from our channel and her channel at the same time. So hopefully I'll reach out to Sister Camilla and Brother Chris on the back channel and see if we could get her to come on, her or he to come on Dr. Ma'at's channel this Thursday. So because that's, I got that phone call earlier from Dr. Ma'at. She was concerned about this number that's being floated out there. And it's not like they said, there's been nothing definitive yet.
Final, definitely.
Nothing final. These are proposals, and people got to chill, man. There's people that just want to say stuff just for the sake of saying it so that they could, I don't know, feel like they are
important.
Yeah, important.
Let me stop.
That's the exact word.
Yeah, everybody is important in this matter. All of the Freedmen family is important. And I just, we know that certain people are going to make certain maneuvers. Other people are going to, give their input, and it's not something that everybody can do all at once. Obviously, you need a certain amount of people, a handful of people who are going to move the levers of power to make certain things happen. But we got to do. It's our civic duty, right? It's really what Brother Chris and Sister Camilla was talking about is civic engagement. Ultimately, it's like, this is really your duty. As a beneficiary group, it's your duty to be involved and to let your voice be heard. So that's important. It's just that people got to be informed with real and right knowledge, not fake information or fake news.
No, you can't be listening to them people on Clubhouse.
And don't listen to Pan-African. Like, listen, man. Listen. I don't have no problem with people and their ideologies and stuff. You Pan-African, whatever. That's your business. But for some reason, man, they just it seems like they're on a mission to misinform people or to misguide people and make people think one way about something when they really should be thinking another way about it. I don't know why they're doing that. But it seems like that's their job right now is to really misdirect people and have them going the wrong way about stuff.
Well, they are trying to protect I was trying to find my hierarchy chart that I did when we had to address this thing before. And I started at the top, and you got some background, Ali.
Oh, my bad.
I started at the top of, the very top of the Democratic Party, and I went all the way down to Roland Martin. I went down to the people that rock with Roland Martin, the Greg Carrs, Mark Thompsons, Ron Daniels, Cam Howard, etc. I went to the lower level people, the people like Jam, Iwu Yar, Digital Sister, Shireen Mitchell, lower level people like Omawale Africa, right? And you have a bunch of them online right now. And it is important that we understand that the reparations movement does not come out of Pan-Africanism. That is false.
Now, if you want, you could pull that tweet up, the tweet that I did, because it's very, to me, it's very important that we are able to pinpoint to people once and for all where this thing starts. And it does not start with any Pan-Africanists or anything of that nature. I made the tweet about it today because it was something that I was thinking about for the past couple of days. And I just really wanted to be clear to folks that, it's, even though they're pushing this thing about reparations the reparations movement comes out of Pan-Africanism or comes from Pan-Africanists, it's just not true, right? Before the Civil War even ended, right before the Civil War ended, I tweeted that you had 20, what they call at the time, colored preachers or ministers and church officials who met with Edwin Stanton, who was the Secretary of War, and William Tecumseh Sherman, who was general. And 4 days later, out of that meeting came Special Field Order Number 15, which one of the things that Dr. Darity made clear on the tweet was that even though there was about 400,000 acres of land distributed before Andrew Johnson took office, the field order was really supposed to be for like 5.4 million acres of land or something like that. What it was really supposed to be for that, but it was only like 400,000 acres that was distributed before Johnson came in and then started undoing that. You know, but again, that thing starts right at towards the end of the Civil War with those quote unquote colored Christian ministers and church officials. It doesn't start with Queen Mother Moore. It doesn't. You know, it doesn't start with Queen Mother Moore. Go ahead,
quick,
bro.
Ali, because Sister Camilla said something important in her conversations with Umar. He didn't know who Cali House was.
Right. Now I'm shocked about that. Right. See, that just goes to show you that, you know, you have people who are speaking on it and are not really well informed about where this thing came from. And people like Professor Greg Carr, he's not going to tell you. He's not going to, like, he'll let you continue saying it. He'll let people like Umar and other people continue running around with this Pan-African thing, even though he knows. Because people like Greg Carr he knows that Cali House and that ex-slave pension association existed before Queen Mother Moore came on the scene. He knows that, but he's not going to say anything about that because he's trying to push a certain narrative.
That's right.
Yeah. It's all about ego, and they don't want their ideology to die. That's what that's what boosts up their ego. But just to give more context to when the American Freedmen clergyman met with General William Tecumseh, this is still around the time that American Freedmen went into the White House and told President Abraham Lincoln that they not expatriating, right? They built this land and they need, to be a section of this land to be carved out so they could make a way in this land for them and their family and their community. Those who you would consider at the time Pan-Africanists, they wasn't concerned about reparations. They fled to Liberia. You know, they took the deal that they thought would fit best for them and their family, and they left to Liberia. Those who stayed here were American Freedmen, and this is the project that, the Special Field Order 15 comes out of. So, the whole idea that you can then go back and do some type of revisionist history and try to tie reparations to Pan-African is asinine, right? And Dr. Carr works on a buddy system. They are the petty bourgeois, and how they get their street credibility is by tying themselves to Africa through symbolism. None of them gets up and expatriates and move to Africa. You'll see these people in their later ages at universities, right, with tenured professors who talk this, symbolic lifestyle that they don't adhere to, nor do they want to adhere to. They won't even try, right? So he'll never, challenge his buddy Dr. Umar on that note. Even when you think about when Umar came on Roland Martin's show, Greg Carr just stood down. He'll never challenge his Pan-Africanist buddy. They see themselves on the same level. and it's just a buddy system where if you don't say nothing, I won't say nothing either, even if you're wrong.
And that, that's crazy because we should be about facts. But I want to pull your video back up, Ibrahim, because I want to break down some of this information. This thing went reverse of how I envisioned it tonight, and it still worked out perfect. I actually wanted to get into some of this stuff, and then Chris and Camilla go in, and then we get back into more of it. So we actually played the video, but then we got into what I think is more important, or a more important portion of this discussion, and that's clearing up the misinformation about the task force. And in some ways, no, not some ways, Umar is pushing misinformation when it comes to the task force as well. First, I want to play something, because earlier you heard me say, oh, there go Josh, right on time. Before you come in, Josh, I'm going to play this clip that you actually extracted from that interview. But I want to preface it first with, I spoke earlier about how many movements, and I spoke about the manosphere, using that as an example, and the people that they were responding to, is all centered around bashing black men, right? Dr. Tommy Curry has a book called The Man Not, and we are the man not, right? We're supposed to be the man not. We're supposed to be the people that are supposed to just shut up and dribble, right? White America tells us to shut up and dribble. Black Americans tell us to just shut up. Like, you see what happened with Ice Cube when we're trying to push for and advocate for things for our people that go outside of the Democratic Party's narrative. For instance, right, the white people that saying shut up and dribble are the white supremacists on the right. On our side, we have what I call the buffer class Negroes that are trying to be the buffers between us and the actual power structure. Well, anyway, what I'm getting at is that we, as black men in this country, we're called black, right? We are the punching bags of everybody. It doesn't matter what the platform is. It is centered on that. Y'all heard me say that earlier. I've said that on this platform before, and it's something that I say often just in regular conversation, right? Depending on what my topic is, of course. But I want to play this clip, and Josh
Hold on,
Mhm.
Naheem. I want to emphasize something. You said even as black men, we are the punching bags of everybody. And I'm saying, and I'm just reiterating what you say, even in the manosphere, the black manosphere, a space for black men, you have this concept of Pookie and Ray Ray, where you still
I
punch
spoke to that.
down
I
on the
spoke to that
class of
earlier.
black men.
See, I'm so glad you brought that up, brother, because I spoke to that earlier. They use these terms, Pookie and Ray Ray. These are the men that they see beneath them. Every time Obama is campaigning for, whether it was himself or now, right, Democratic candidates, and we've seen it this election cycle, go and get your cousin Pookie up off the couch.
Yeah, cousin Pookie.
Right,
And now see, and what happens is these euphemisms become like popular culture in that part of society. Like, so now, like, cousin Pookie is a whole paradigm, and everybody understands how to see things and what perspective to see things from. And what they basically say is, black men lazy. They not trying to vote and do civic duty. They not trying to and they're the ones that you actually have to drag over here to the polls, because they not trying to do nothing. And that's unfortunate. I don't want to harp too much on that, but yeah, I just want to say, like, what happens is when people like Obama coin make statements, they get coined as whole phrases, and they get used as like popular culture terminologies, and that's a problem.
That's right.
It casts a large blanket amongst black men, and it villainizes us. and it puts you in a position where you're guilty until proven innocent. So it forces you to go out and have to be better than, right, to prove yourself when you should just get that, right, for just being human, right? It's, those are your human rights, right? But we don't get that, right? So that's why you have so much aggrandizing. People running around talking about, I'm a high value man, I'm an alpha man, right? Because if you not, it just puts you in the general category of you just being a Pookie or a Ray Ray.
That's right. That's right. I do tout the alpha label myself, but that's just that's just. I'm not trying to make no contrast necessarily. I just had a little bit of disclosure out there. All right. So I just wanted to pull this up because
this is for Dr. Umar because he didn't know. So you got
this is for Umar. He doesn't know about Cali House and Isaiah Dickinson. And that's a shame if you don't know that when it comes to putting a freedman or quote unquote black face on the reparations movement, not too many people know about Isaiah Dickinson, but Cali House, Cali House, you don't know that Cali House is, if we're looking at it, freedmen, American freedmen carved out of.
She predates Queen Mother Moore.
She predates Queen Mother Moore by many years, many years. So and this is no knock on Queen Mother Moore. I hope no one takes it that way. It's just that the narrative that Pan-Africanists are running with is disingenuous, and many of them know this. And like you were saying earlier, they let them continue spewing the nonsense. They would not correct them. If they would say, yeah, Queen Mother Moore is the the matriarch of the reparations movement, and the reparations movement comes out of no. Cali House is, and someone like Greg Carr would not correct that, and he knows better. You're absolutely correct, and I really just wanted to harp on that point. Now I want to play this video. Real quick because I want to highlight this point about punching down on quote unquote black men. Let's play this.
These other coaches bring all these athletes from high school to play football, basketball, so forth. The revenue of the HBCU goes up, Envy. As a result of the revenue going up, Charlemagne, the schools got more money. They don't have to subject themselves to closure. They don't have to subject themselves to being dependent on white money. You got HBCUs at risk of being closed. I read something that said almost a half of them, may not survive the decade. So this was bigger than football. This was about the survival of the HBCU.
It's bigger than Dion,
especially
though, Dr. Umar.
no,
Yes,
no,
it is.
no. Stop trying
you're blaming the individual.
Stop trying to give celebrities a pass, Charlemagne.
No, you're blaming the individual.
I'm not blaming him.
The issue.
I'm blaming black men for not being men.
There we go.
I'm blaming us for not being men. That was an unmanly move.
Can you admit one thing?
Dion could have went down in history, brother.
Are HBCUs chronically underfunded?
Of course.
Were they chronically underfunded before Dion?
Yes.
Yes.
Will they be chronically underfunded after Dion?
Yes.
Absolutely.
What are those reasons that they're chronically underfunded?
We don't
because we as black men have not come together to create the funding. Dion and the
So right now we hear this nonsense where it's blame black men. Y'all hear me speak about that all the time. Umar says we as black men did not create the funding sources and the funding mechanisms to fund HBCUs, which means, because Charlemagne was right. Charlemagne was absolutely right in that segment. And Umar was 100% wrong. And this is a part of Pan-African ideology. And we see that in the Nation of Islam. And again, I'm not like trying to go at no organizations or anything like that, but we got to point out the obvious, because this is what they do. They try to blame us for the conditions that we're in, and we're going to get into some of that. Josh, no,
the conditions that we were forced into. It's not even that we're just in it. You can't ignore the history of how we got into these positions. Man, if you look at the history of Fisk University, we talked about it on a couple of the episodes where we talked about how the Jubilee, the Fisk Jubilee, was going around performing, singing to raise money for that institution.
That's right.
It's not. Listen, man, they trying to put everything on us, and like we're supposed to be funding all of this stuff. It's almost as bad as Frederick Douglass trying to fund a federally chartered bank with his own money.
That's right. That's right.
That's insane, man. That's insane. That's not
nobody
how
else had to do that. And we're gonna get into. I'm gonna get in. We are gonna get into some of that. Josh. Yeah. No. Go ahead, Ibrahim. And then Josh.
There's a distinction to make here, though, right? You gotta see this through Dr. Umar's lens. When Ali says us, and that's why he used Frederick Douglass as an example, he's talking about American freedmen, right? He's talking about black men being American freedmen, right? Being citizens of America, coming from the institution of slavery. When Dr. Umar says us, he's talking about black men worldwide. That's the difference. He sees some type of shared fate amongst all black people. So he's saying black men could have funded this, right? If we don't have the money, we should have went and got it from some African nation that, so that's the difference. He sees some like unified front, shared fate of all black people. So when he says black men, he's saying it as this global capacity.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. But the problem is there's no.
Josh, go in on that clip, if you will, because you extracted that, and I want to definitely hear your take on that one.
Well, I wish it would have let me. YouTube would have let me make the clip a little bit longer, because the next part of that exchange was saying, oh, we got y'all be having the black billionaires and all them people like that up here. Y'all interview these people every day. They can fund that, and it's like, dude, how do you not understand that? Number one, the onus is not on the victimized party to make basically it's not on us to fund our own reparations. Number two, we don't even have the wealth to do what you're talking about trying to do. You're talking about like how many billionaires do we have? Then not only that, how many large tech company owners? And I'm not trying to say we can't do more, because our group can't do more as far as, because a lot of these people, like you see Dr. Dre donate a large amount of money to I think it was USC or something like that. Yeah, it's not to say that we can't do more, but what the whole point is number one, how is it on us? And the numbers don't add up to make it to where it will be on us. Like the numbers don't add up, and like it's not like we have, because he says like forget the government. So what you're saying is he got me. Yeah, he got me. Yeah. It's not like we're saying that the government has to be the party to do it, because the government is number one, the party that owes, and the government number two is a party that has the resources. If you don't understand that, I don't know how you're still even talking in the spaces. To me, it's just like he's just trying to, because if you listen to the Breakfast Club conversation, it seems like he's trying to feed into talking points he wants to put himself in the center of.
That's
but you're not even qualified to be at the center of it if you don't even know who Cali House is, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
Like that's
you
really
are
bad.
If you have the school that you want these celebrities to donate to.
But why in the world would I want to? The more he opens his mouth and talks, the more he tells me I don't think it's a terrible idea for people to even donate. Because if that's the ideology you're gonna have pumping into the kids, I see why people ain't donating the money, because it's not right and exact. It's not like, it's not helpful for America. We need to have American Freedmen centered, like real proper education, not some Pan-African ideological stuff. I ain't sending my kids over there. I'm sorry. I don't want none of my kids to go over there. I don't want none of my, well, I ain't got the ones, but I don't want none of my youngins in my family to go over there. But that stuff is, come on, man. If you're gonna do it right. Don't do it based on your ideology.
I think it's a good idea. My main issue is See, institutions got to work with other institutions hand in hand, right? The church works with the school works with the vocational center, right? So Dr. Umar has never showed a capacity to be able to work with others. So what he's trying to do is quote unquote build an institution, but it's going to be a standalone institution. And he's trying to create this, one-stop shop where you come there and you get everything up under his mentorship and his guidance, which makes him king. He's trying to king himself. And that's the problem. If you want to build institutions, you have to build institutions that can be flexible and work with other institutions. Dr. Umar isn't a team player.
He's not, bro.
No, he's not. He wants to be front and center. And what I'm gonna do is, Brother Dre want to come through.
I got some more I wanted to say on that in that regard, but I'm kind of in the middle of making the transaction.
All right. So this is what I want to do real quick. This is what I want to do.
Another clip?
Well, damn.
Well, let me go in real quick. Let me add one more piece to that, because part of that, what he's saying is built into that whole myth that we busted up all kind of times. That's saying, well, if Black America was a country, we have the ninth largest economy of GDP or whatever, something like that, and our buying power is more than this country and that country. First off, we're living in America. We have to buy assets in America. Did we already go through the statistics? We showed the breakdown in the spending and the consumer spending.
No. It's two charts in there, Naheem.
Y'all want me to pull that up now?
Yeah. Right, pull up the expenditure chart and then pull up the how we spend our money.
Because I wanna get into that, right? I really, really want to get into that. So, all right, Josh, you put one in here. You want me to go to that one first, or the one that Ibrahim put in the inbox?
Go to the
do the income distribution first.
Yeah. Do
so because we talk about median household wealth in our community as if it scales up fast, but ours trickles up slow. Even when you get to about the 85th percentile, you'll see we're still under about $50,000 per household.
We got a bootstrapper in the building too, Crochet Bird. We like some opposition every so often, long as they're not trolling, right? Long as they're not being trolls and being negative. Some people, this person says the Black man is the head. We must support our institution. So I guess he agrees with Umar, or she agrees with Umar.
Let me say something about that real quick. I agree too. We should support our institutions.
That's right.
But that's kind of like beside the point when you start looking at the data that the brothers are getting ready to go through, right?
That's right.
Like, in other words, the supporting of our institutions is not a new thing. Creating them, supporting them, that's not new. That's something that's been going on since the time of Reconstruction. I mean, we've had so many institutions that we've created, man, it would blow your mind. I was just watching a program on PBS, and I was telling you guys about it. I think it's called Making Black America, right? And there's like several segments to it, man. In this one particular segment, they were talking about the creation of Black institutions from coming out of the Reconstruction period, moving up, right? And there's been so many institutions that will blow your mind. A lot of them that the average person knows nothing about today.
That's right.
Nothing about, right? And the majority of them things fail. The majority of them fail because of lack of resources, which causes people to start falling by the wayside in terms of their commitment and dedication to these institutions, trying to keep them afloat. Because if you don't have the resources, it becomes disheartening trying to do something. It's like trying to do a job and not having the tools, the proper tools to do the job.
That's
So
right.
we create institutions, and a lot of the majority of the institutions wind up failing due to lack of resources. And this is the thing that Umar is not getting through his head. This is the thing that the black bootstrappers who are very aspirational, and I get it, but they're not getting that through their head. Why is it that the majority of black firms, the majority of black-owned businesses fail? Why is that the case?
That's right.
There's a reason for that. It ain't just happening because black people don't know how to spend money. That's not the deal. They're failing due to lack of resources. So many reports have come out about the fact that black people lack access to capital, lack access to proper funding and resources to maintain or to create and maintain viable businesses, viable institutions. That's the case. That's been the case from the time of Reconstruction on. It's never changed. That's the thing that they have to get through their heads.
That's right. That's right. Somebody is in the chat said, when was the last time we donated to any schools? Let's be honest. Shanna asked this person, when was the last time you donated to any school? You know, people don't understand our wealth positionality in this country. And then we don't know what this person is. We don't know what this person's background is, where their family comes from, et cetera, et cetera. But
Well,
you want to give them the link? Hey, Crochet Bird, you want to jump on?
Wait. Let's get through what we're doing.
No, we're gonna do what we do. We're gonna do what we do. But if this person wants to jump on, then they get to show and prove. They get to pull up the stuff that we're pulling up, and so far as data, et cetera, et cetera. So
because when people say that stuff, man, like, first off, I mean, like when you see the income, right? Because people usually make donations based off either you only can do it based on what your wealth or your income. When you see the income disparity and what we spending money on, you can see how other people got way more left over because they have way more income, so they got way more discretionary. They can leave donations. They got wealth. They can take a chunk out of that if they want. Our people, like, well, you know what our donations are? Student loan debt and interest. So the donations to the school, no, we paying the student loan, we pay tuition to the school. First, let us get off. You talking about making donations when we still in student loan debt to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. What sense does that make, man? Come on now.
Yeah, who's breaking this chart down? The income distribution of all black households. I think
Abraham.
Yeah, people need to hear this.
You can do it. Just count up the percentage of black households that make under $80,000, right? I can't see it because it's kind of small on my phone. Mm-hmm. But you can look at the percentage, right? Because we always talk about the median, but we never really think about how that wealth doesn't scale up. It doesn't scale up like other communities, like the white community, like the Asian community, like the Indian immigrant community. Ours doesn't scale up at all. And when you look at the chart, it just goes extremely slow.
So what you'll see from here is less than 1% is making between 200, or let's just say less than 1% is making above 200,000.
Start at this. 21% make less than 12,500, right? So that's abject poverty. That's extreme poverty where you really need a strong assistance from the government to even be able to get by on day to day, right? 37.67% make less than 37, right? 38,000. And this is a whole family. So what you see with just those first two, that's basically 60% of our population, right? That's almost 60% of our population that make less than 38,000.
That's right.
And then the next is 19%. So we looking about 75% make less than 62,000, 63,000, right? With almost half of that coming in at poverty, right? And you can just stop there. That's 75%. I know, people go online and everybody makes 100,000, right? Not as a household, just as an individual. But when you look at the data from the BLS, that's just not true. This is showing you, right? The first three graphs is 75%. is almost 75% of our total household income, right? And just look at that. Half is in poverty, right?
That's
All
right.
of them make less than 63,000 per household. And these aren't people that just live in the South, even though that's where most of us live, but these are also people that live up the coastline, right? These are people that live in Jersey, New York, LA, Texas, so we just don't have the money. And when you talk about black people being able to maintain and sustain institutions, that's not how it goes. Your alumni donor base is just a small percentage of the money that's taken in. Look at these schools and endowments and look at the money that they able to get from the cities and the states that they are a part of.
Right.
HBCUs are underfunded, not because the alumni donor base is broke, because they don't account for over 50% of what the school takes in. They are underfunded because they don't get the money from the state. State officials isn't bringing in money like that. Not they not directing it to our school. Our schools was underfunded at the inception of them being created.
That's right.
It's always been underfunded, and that's just how it is. So when Dr. Umar speaks to these rich and celebrity athletes and entertainers, it's just not true. One thing we also know is that black celebrities get paid significantly less than white celebrities. When you look at shows like that used to come on UPN, I forgot what it's called now, but
Yeah.
all those shows, those black people was getting paid pennies on the dollar compared to Three and a Half Men and Two Broke Girls,
Yeah.
Seinfeld. Look at the comparison between that. One thing else you learn from the data, especially from if you ever read Dr. Darity's in the Duke's Du Bois Cook Center study, I think it's titled "Running Up the Down Escalator," is that the more education you get, the higher you achieve, the more your white counterparts and other counterparts will have more wealth than you and out earn you, right? So the system is broken, right? We always say work twice as hard to get half as much, but how does that correlate when we talk about our institutions and us being able to sustain them institutions? Not only do we get neglected by the states and the localities and municipalities that we live in, but then the alumni donor base is also extremely underfunded, right? They don't get the same amount of income as their white counterpart. So then it's asinine to turn back around and tell this same group of people that get pennies on the dollars compared to their white counterpart that you should overcompensate and be able to prop up institutions that's not propped up by white individuals at all. Every time a white institution or these major white companies start to have some type of shakes in their system, the government comes in with a bailout or some type of massive expenditure to be able to prop these companies up. And these are white folks that own and work for these companies. When
Facts, corporate welfare.
when's the last time you seen the American government come in and be able to boost up some type of black entity, right? Just because they were struggling, not because all of America was struggling and it just trickled down, but just because they were struggling. This is how America works right now, and this is the system that reparations is set out to change.
Right. What you said,
Facts.
Drake?
No, I said when he said you always see the government intervene when white infrastructure fail. I'm like, yeah, corporate corporate charity. That's what they do. They don't they don't undergird. See, the bottom line is this: like anyone in 2022 that thinks Umar is smart, they really just don't listen to Umar outside of the Breakfast Club where he could just talk trending topics. If you listen to Umar enough, you will realize he's not smart. He's just rehearsed. If we're talking about
Fact.
your school, And I gotta hear on every video, this is the place where Frederick Douglass got his first part in Buffalo, New York. He got his Afro pick. Like, what does that have to do with an institution? When a grown man in his 40s can look at black people in the camera and say, "Can I have your grit money?" That's not smart. That is not
Right.
intellectual. You could say to Umar right now, "Man, there's a toilet paper shortage." That's because y'all date all them white women. What does that have to do with actual facts?
You know, hey Dre, he came up with a number for the amount of grit money that black people spend. I think I was something like $11 billion a year on grits.
4.3 million. He said, "Can I have your
Just-
grit money?" And then,
Now,
yo, do you understand? First of all, I know this economics thing like the back of my hand. So let's just talk about where he even moved to school.
Wait,
You're in Wilmington.
wait a minute, Dre. Hold on.
Pull that second chart up on how we spend our money.
I had that up, but hold on, because I want Dre to go back in, but I gotta share this real quick.
The school ain't up yet because we're not raising enough money. But guess who don't have to ask those questions? The owner of Quaker Grits, because Negroes give them $11 million a year.
I said 11. I thought he said 4.
Nike and Air Jordan, because Negroes give them $4 billion, $2 billion a year. Malt liquor, $4 billion a year. Urban beauty products, $30 billion a year. Fast
Now-
$1 billion a year. They don't have to ask the Europeans and the Jews and the Chinese and the Arabs. They don't have to ask how long it's going to take them to get that Negro money. We give it freely.
We gonna get into that too in a little.
There's a chart, Naheem, that shows like what exactly black people spend their money on.
Yeah, I had it up. I'm gonna pull it back up. I want Dre to finish going in, but I'm gonna pull that chart back up while he going in.
Yeah, you can hear me because my headphones died. Y'all can hear me?
Yeah,
Yep.
we hear you.
All right, so real quick, once again, when you're talking about a subject, we have to Umar is so scattered and vacuous in everything he does. Like, I think people want to be entertained by him. How is he smart? Listen, y'all, I want you to listen to me intently. He was on a radio interview about 8 months ago, and someone said to him, "Well, once you get the school running, how, right, are you going to actually have funding, because you're not going to be accredited by Delaware since you're running an all black funded school?" Then he goes and says, and I quote, he says, "Well, I only have to be accredited by the city of Wilmington, not the state of Delaware." And then he pauses and says, "What y'all don't know is I have an email and a phone full of all these parents who's going to uproot their life and come to Wilmington for my kid to go to the school." Now, if you're a moron, you would believe that. But then if you're someone who actually uses logic, you would say, well, how come these the same people ain't donating to the school? So hold on. So I don't have enough money to endow the school, but I have enough money to uproot my life and go to Wilmington, Delaware, where there's no new money, is only old bank corporate money, your credit card, your LLCs, most of them come out of Wilmington. Where are these people coming from that's going to uproot their life and go to Wilmington? Then one of the silliest things he ever said, "Get your lazy butt up. I want to have buses from Philly, buses from Baltimore." So you're going to have a bus from 2.5 hours. So what time the kid got to get up to go to your school? Do you understand how silly that is?
Also, if you even know what Wilmington, Delaware looks like on the black side of town, it's comparable to the south side of Philly, the north side of Philly, or Camden, New Jersey. It's basically the same exact thing, right? A bunch of dilapidated row houses. This isn't like wealthy black people. But when you look at the expenditure for black people, right? Everybody want to say, "Oh, it's us. It's wasteful spending. It's wasteful spending." What you look up here, the 3 biggest expenditures is housing, transportation, and food. And that's basically all your money, right? And for those who have any money left, the 4th category is insurance. Right? It's not what people say it is, but nobody ever looks at the data. Even when Dr. Umar was just up there talking, he's just coming off the hip with something. There's no
Right.
there's no set of data that shows how much money people spend on grits.
Yeah, yeah. Let me say something real quick,
If
Ibrahim.
grits is
Go
part
ahead.
of your diet, right? And I'll just end on this note. If grits is a main staple in your diet, what does that say about the type of livelihood you have and the type of lifestyle you ever
That's
able
right.
to provide?
Talk to him. That's right. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I didn't know that they had a button that you could put on when you buying your grits to put what your race is.
Come on, man.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
that
you
was
ain't
the
see it
question I was.
at the self checkout. When
Yo,
you
I ain't seen
after
that,
you
man.
pay right before you pay for your food.
But
But
here's the
let me
thing. Here's the
They
thing, though,
ask you
right?
what your race is.
But here's the thing, y'all. Forget the grits. Forget Nike. If a white man say, y'all spending y'all money on malt liquor, can I have your? You would go crazy.
Absolutely.
But you
Man.
gonna let this dude who's unemployed and literally walk around graves and pouring water on grave sites tell you not black enough because you're not donating to his fantastical school? Like, that is just crazy. Like, yo, like, what are you talking about? So I'm supposed to take my hard-earned money and donate to the Sojourner Truth, Harriet Governors, Nat King Cole, this, yo, come on, man.
Donation.
By the way,
Donation.
the
Do y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that?
Yo, this
I
ain't
thought
got Red
So
Lobster
so
cars up there, man.
so not only will he take money from poor black people that go to work and work for their hard-earned money, he'll take donations. He'll take food. He'll take food out of your mouth.
Y'all hear the
'Cause
audio though?
it's all about him and it's all about his school.
Yeah, you can hear it.
Okay, my bad. I wanted to talk while this played in the background. I wanted y'all to go in while this played.
Yo, that shit is hilarious, bro.
All right, so Pete, if you go on, if you just do a Google search for, and I would bring it up here, but I'm on my phone and it won't let me share my screen. But there is you can break down the consumer spending by race. There is a report out there done by the federal government where it's like they track consumer spending and they break it down by race. So I'm just since he talking about grits, it says cereal and cereal products. The mean so the average American spends about $210 per year. Hold up. The average American spends about $216 per year. White people spend, it said white and all other races, not including black or African American, spend $208 on cereal and cereal products.
Did he go out?
Yeah, he went out.
Yeah, I think he went out.
Damn. All right, so
You
can you hear
back.
me now? All right. So my phone act weird when I navigate away from this browser, but basically it says the average American spend about $216 a year. White people spend about $208. Asians spend about $312, and black or African Americans spend about $177. So multiply 177 times what? How many black households is it?
It's about 18 million.
Okay, so let's just say 20 million households times that all cereal. That's not talking about Quaker grits. The total spending of all cereal is like $3 billion on all cereals. So how is he getting? We giving Quaker? How much did we say we giving Quaker oats?
11 million.
11
11
million.
11 billion or something, right?
Million with an M.
Well, that could be true. I don't know. Maybe he did the percentage of the grits.
How, Josh? How? How would you do that?
He used
what
that same
percentage
chart.
of the cereal?
Look,
cereal
he used that same
market.
chart who made the fuck around and find out chart.
Yeah. But either way, man, we still spending less than everybody else. Like what are you talking about? So basically, we don't need to eat. We don't need to eat. And I don't understand the point. We don't need to eat. We don't need to wear shoes.
You,
You know what I'm saying? We don't need it. We play in basketball, but we don't need to wear
Yeah,
shoes.
don't
when
buy
you
skips, buy
when you look at
rejects,
this
and then
chart, what
take the
you'll
rest
see
of
is
the
that
money and donate to Umar. You got it.
the apparel is less than 3%. So
Mm-hmm.
all these Jordans and Louis and Gucci, and if we boycott this, then the company will fill us. It's less than 3% of a community that has 75% of its population that makes less than $63,000. Less than 3%. And if you understand American Freedmen life, you know we got, I believe it was about 20% of us that lived off less than $12,000 a year. So
Mm-hmm.
them people ain't just eating grits to be eating grits. They ain't eating fish and grits or shrimp and grits.
Mm-hmm.
They eating grits and cereal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
That's right.
And he's sitting there telling you spend $11 million on grit money. That's dinner, sir. That's dinner for a lot of our kids that live in these underfunded communities that we come from. Hell,
It's a
I
shame
can
factor.
attest to eating cereal for dinner.
Hell yeah, I'm pretty certain we all have had to eat cereal for dinner. Grits. Well, I've had
Cornflakes.
fish and grits before for dinner, shrimp and grits for dinner. You know, when I had the grits for breakfast with the eggs and the toast, and they had the same grits for dinner with the shrimp or the fish. We've all been there. And this man is saying, give it up. So you could fund my school. Give it up. Madam, do like the nation of Islam. Eat one meal a day. Don't eat don't eat 3 meals a day. Eat 1 meal a day and send the other meals, the money you would spend on breakfast and lunch, send that to me so I could build my school.
Cause see, the thing is when they go to talk about how much we spend and how much we, the buying power, they always do it in a vacuum. They don't never do it like comparing it to how much other people spend or how much other people what their buying power is. Like and that's why this consumer spending chart is important. Because like when you see stuff, like I was looking at one statistic just now, and it was talking about apparel. Can y'all hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So apparel, the average American spends about $1,781 a year on apparel. And it says apparel and services. The average white American spends 1,746. The average Asian spends 2,303, and the average Black African American is spending 1,590. So what you're talking about is we spending way less than white America, way less than the American standard, and way less than Asians. If we go down, I mean, even when you go to stuff like fruits, like, so this is actually consequential to our lives, because if you're eating less fruit, you're probably getting less nutrition and nutrients and all that kind of stuff. If you're eating less fruits, so it says where is it at? Fruits. It says fresh fruits. The average American is spending $378 on fresh fruits. $396. White folks spending $379. Asians spending $653, and Black folks spending $269. So we eating way less fresh fruit, fruits and vegetables. Okay, the average American is spending $1,071. The average white American is spending $1,032. The average Asian is spending $1,650. The average Black person is spending $796. So if we're not eating fresh fruits and vegetables, like what are we eating? So that means we're getting poor nutrition. So like you want us to take money that we don't have, we're not even spending on healthy food to put in our body, and like demonize us for why we're not funding our own HBCUs that are. If you don't understand how the HBCUs today have billions of dollars that have been stolen from them, we can talk and have gripes about mismanagement of funds, but then when your cup is not running over, with funds because you're dealing with a group who don't have the capacity to do large donations or small donations on a large scale. You're not gonna have, you're not gonna have institutions that, that are gonna be robust. That's not our fault. A lot. This stuff is not due to our fault. It's due to the stuff we talk about all the time is that builds the case for reparations. And go ahead, bro.
No, I want to get into something real quick. I pulled this up, and I want to read very briefly from the report the things we get wrong about closing the racial wealth gap. It's something very important that I wanted to pull out that eats up more of Umar's claim, because a lot of people like to always bring in other people. Umar did that in the Grits clip. He did it on the Breakfast Club. He does it all the time with his shaming tactic. First, I want to bring up this myth of Black spending power, right? Spending power growth since the year 2000. This article that I pulled this from, it's a CNBC article, and it showed that Black spending power in 2021 was up. I can't remember what percentage or however, it reached the all-time high, maybe 1.8 trillion, I believe it was. But Black net worth was down 14%. So this is what happens when you look at if the government makes a cash infusion.
An investment, yeah.
An investment. Well, I don't even want to necessarily say an investment.
Infusion.
I think infusion is a better term here, right? And we spend that money on necessities, things that can be tracked. And we see that what's called spending power. I don't understand how you have power in consumption, right? Power to me is being able to have wealth that you could buy anything with at any given time without having to stress yourself.
Production
is power. That's
power
right.
is when other people spending money with you.
That's right.
That's power.
But one thing to note is that Latinos, right, their spending power over the same period of time went up 288%. Asians, 383%. That's double than the spending power of our people. And Umar is always speaking about these other people. And it's not just Umar, but he's the focus tonight. And we have to kill these bootstrapperism myths. So I want to bring you to what we get wrong about closing the racial wealth gap. Many of y'all see me read from this all the time. This is from page 22. It's by Dr. Sandy Darity, several other scholars and economists as well. And there's something else I want to read after this. So it says, nonetheless, the conventional wisdom has it that Blacks in search of immediate gratification lack self-control and are plagued uniquely by a culture of frivolous consumerism. This belief was magnified by Ronald Reagan's use of the welfare queen trope during his campaign, and recently via internet financial gurus pushing images of Black America spending money on Jordan brand Nike shoes rather than household needs. See, this is a lie. This guy, I hope he's listening. Brother, I hope you're listening. That was on my tweet. He was saying the same thing. We just spend our money on Jordan. Well, we have the economists that are pulling the reports and compiling what's being tracked. It says, yet the empirical evidence indicates that it has not been the case historically, nor is it the case today, that Blacks are more financially wasteful than whites. In the addition to they cite a study, economists ranging from arch conservative Milton Friedman to Marjorie Gallanton to Marcus Alexis, a founder of the Caucus of Black Economists, all found that Blacks have a slightly higher saving rate than whites. Now, I want to read one more thing. Because I believe that this is important and it helps end this nonsense. Myth number 7, emulating successful minorities will close the racial wealth gap. We hear that all the time. You know, the Mexicans, and you know, some of that is true, right? Where people stick together, but there's a missing component of why these people get to come over here, set up shop, etc. It's not just because they're putting their pennies and dimes together and they're working at these factories and they're bunking up 10 to a house and said that's not what's happening. So let's go into what the report says. In a recent book by legal scholars Amy Chua and Jed Rubenfeld, a longtime trope reemerged. According to Chua and Rubenfeld, the reason why certain ethnic or cultural groups, as they call them, achieve relatively high levels of economic success compared to others, read blacks, most Latinos and Native Americans, or read blacks, most Latinos and Native Americans, is a result of superior group traits not possessed by others. Using circumstantial and other evidence, including comparative household income and occupational status across particular social groups, the argument rehashes a now half-century-old culture of poverty theory, which they cite begins in 1966. This theory, as applied, holds that quote-unquote self-sabotaging group to individual level values learned under the conditions of concentrated poverty are recycled intergenerationally and constitute a barrier toward favorable economic outcomes. This can include behavioral impediments to being able to acquire and hold down a job, an indifference toward educational attainment, saving or general asset building practices, and other alleged negative group level attributes, including a predisposition toward pathological family structures, right? What was Umar saying? That we got to fix the structure in the black community first. See, Umar is repeating these white supremacist tropes and he doesn't realize it. In the past,
a lot of Pan-Africans, Afrocentrists, Black power groups repeat white supremacist tropes, man. A lot of them do that.
That's right. And people think I be going at the people at the Nation of Islam like I got some gripe. It's not a gripe. You can't keep saying this nonsense and spewing these white supremacist tropes, whether you're Nuri Muhammad or Derek Muhammad or any other Muhammad, because that's just not true. To continue, much of what is commonly referred to as the quote unquote model minority narrative has relied on the perceived bootstrap success of American Jews and other Southern European immigrant groups, and more recently, select Asian, Latino, Caribbean, and African immigrant communities. Notwithstanding the diverse, complex social and economic makeup of these groups in the first place, the immigrant success trope has yielded the problematic inference that, quote, if they can do it, why can't you? What Nas said in that joint? How this dude rich and he came here with no citizenship. We're repeating this stuff even in our rhymes. With blame centered on Black and Latino communities, the contemporary claim that if they only acted right perpetuates the myth that by emulating successful minorities, sub-lantern groups can close the racial wealth gap. I said that wrong. Subaltern groups can close the I said sub-lantern. I'm thinking of the Green Lantern movie, I guess. Close the racial wealth gap by their own unilateral efforts. Take the Cuban American and Korean communities, for example, which, if we examine the groups using income alone, appear to provide prima facie evidence for the immigrant success trope. But the lateral mobility hypothesis, Darrity's work from 1989, argues that the relative social position held by the majority of adult immigrants in this country of origin, in their country of origin, will be regained by their children. In short, so-called successful immigrant groups actually retrieve a comparable class position as the one they held in their country of origin. Their pre-migration capital, whether embodied in their educational and training or their financial resources, is critical in determining their outcomes in the United States. I really wanted to read this whole chapter, but I'm gonna chill because it's a really, really deep
but it's
chapter.
getting
Go ahead.
into what he's saying is they weren't poor in their home
That's
country
right.
and came to America and had vertical success.
That's right.
No, they had what's called lateral success.
That's right.
They came over here and emulated the same class status that they had in their country. They didn't come over here and do anything special. They were homeowners, they were business owners, they were land owners, they were of a certain caliber and class in their home country, and they came here and they just, carried that same class structure here.
Hey, Ibrahim, we had an example. One time, Naheem was having a conversation with Garfield, and Garfield was talking about back in Jamaica, his family owned some businesses or something.
That's right.
Right? So to the point that you're making, you're absolutely right. A lot of that is what's going on. You're getting people who are already successful coming here and, moving from that perspective as opposed to, the liars who were talking about they came here with $1 in their pocket and nothing else,
All
That's
lies
right.
with that. All lie. I mean, your vice president
It's
is
the
an
same
example.
story that gets traffic over and over and over.
Yeah, your vice president is an example of lateral success or lateral movement. I tell people all the
Yeah.
time, if y'all go to India, ain't no poor person making it out of India. I've seen it. There's no poor person gonna make it out of India. So for them to come with them stories it's all conjecture. It's all them selling you Camelot. There's no poor person coming out of India or most of these third world countries. So, like you said, it's just a form of lateral success. And you see it's like so Ali, Naheem, myself, who's still in New York, you see it just going to the Dwayne Reeds. Who owns them? Right? The Harisha class of the Indians, right? They own it. And to look at how they look at you, right? They looking at you almost like how would they look at their fellow Indian if they were in India, if they
That's
below
right.
them.
That's right.
Go to your
They,
local
Yep.
Dunkin' Donuts, right? Look at how they look. Like it's right in front of your face. It's crazy. It's like something that Ali said almost a year ago, and it's like every time I'm in Manhattan, I think of Ali when he was like, "Yo, with all these immigrants, it looks like Jerusalem," and it literally looks like Jerusalem in Manhattan. All you see is bikes and mopeds, and I say every time I walk, I'm like, "This man said it looked like Jerusalem, and it looks like Jerusalem." I mean, it's just
yep.
a fact.
Yep.
Even we start to emulate that value system, and that's where you get those concepts like Pookie and Ray Ray. You'll see young African American man, a young American freedman walking to the bus stop with a nice outfit and a nice pair of J's on, or go to somebody's lecture and they talking about, oh, he wouldn't be poor if he didn't have these J's on, right? He wouldn't be spending this money on this outfit, right? But nobody gets to turn around and say, but you left the black community and spent more money to live out in the white suburbs, right? Or you didn't get the basic standard model car. You upgraded and got the luxury version, right? And when it comes to white people, the same person that have a vacation home that they don't need, that they don't go to, be exposing these same anti-black racist tropes that black quote unquote bourgeoisie espouse, And it's like, come on, man. You look at the one thing I do and you try to anchor me down and say this is why I'm in a impoverished state. But I don't get the chance to do that to you. Right? Like that's that BS hierarchy where you get to always look down and punch down, but I can't analyze you.
That's a fact.
Now,
That's a fact. The old saying goes, the trees thought it was all good when they realized the axe was wood, right? So as long as we cutting each other down, it's okay, right? Like we
That's
don't
right.
even have an understanding. Like Ibrahim said, we'll pick on the brother walking to the bus stop in J's or a nice outfit, but anyone that does has no recognition of the difference between consumer goods and durable goods. They make consumer goods at a surplus for you, right? You can't get durable goods because you don't have the money for it. So naturally, you're going to buy what you can afford. And sometimes that outfit is all you can aspire to when you're in that position. It's just a like, so you can cut us down all you want, but at the end of the day, and Naheem knows this, no one like you just said earlier, no one like talks more conservative Republican put bootstrapper stuff than the conscious community. It is the weirdest thing because most of them are broke. And then
That's right.
you gotta hear
That's right.
certain people so-called teaching tell me the dollar is worth nothing. And then say, why you not hitting my cash app, everybody? It's just the weirdest thing.
Weird. I seen that in person. This dude named King Noble. We were having this panel discussion in Atlanta. Man, this was years ago. Ankh was there. This dude got up there and talked all of this anti-American dollar stuff, and then was like, make sure y'all send the donations. I was like, am I the only one that's hearing? Am I the only
They
one
all do it. They all do it.
They all do it, man. Come on.
Shout out to my sister Monica in the building. Miss Lamb, we see you. What's going on, sis? Lama Bay, what's going on, man? Josh, you wanted to say something? Because I want to pull up one more thing and y'all go in, man.
Yeah, just kind of, continuing. I just got this report, consumer spending. It's called the Consumer Expenditure Survey for 2020. It's the data from 2021. It's the most recent one. And we see on here is let's go to, income.
Wait, hold on. Somebody said they could hear a female in the background talking. I don't hear that, brother.
I don't hear that.
Nah, I don't hear any female. I hear like a slight echo.
I don't hear the echo.
Well, I
got
heard it
my
when Trey and
headset in.
Ali was talking, but I don't hear it now.
Never know, man. You never know what people got going on, man.
Yeah, it ain't coming from here though. Go ahead.
I'm at the crib. I'm actually still in the car. I'm just getting back home. But let's go to income. So income before taxes, the average American income is 91,000. This household, 91,000 $556. The average white American 89,777. Average Asian 119,995. Black African American 60,788. So we not even like we pretty much have half the income of Asian households, and significantly less was that 50%. I mean they almost got a half or 50% more income in white households, 50% less income in white households, and 100% less than Asian households, basically. Now what we were talking about, like you don't understand like what we're spending it on. Let me just toggle back to the screen so it don't cut my sound off. America is 8,265. White America 8,029. Asian 12,043. Black American 5,341. Let's go to education. America is 1,291. White America 1,177. Asian 3,115. Black America 808. So we're spending like what 5 times less than Asians on education. We're spending damn near 50% less than white folks. So and let's go to entertainment, right? Entertainment. America is spending $3,847 a year. White America is spending $3,923. Asians spending $2,662, and black folks spending $1,780.
Yeah, you Is it me or is Josh going out?
Yeah, he going out.
Damn, I got a couple more. A couple more. It's hard because I got to toggle between these two screens. I wish I could share this, but I can't share my screen right now on the phone. A couple more. So I'm gonna go to, because I talked about, I showed insurance. I showed how there's a huge gap in income. I showed that there's a huge gap and we have way less insurance. I talked about how they're spending way more on entertainment. Now I'm gonna talk about housing. Housing. Where's housing? Okay.
Sound like you went out again.
He got all the way off.
Yeah, he cut off. All right, while he's getting that together, let me go in real quick. Let me go in real quick. I want to pull up Umar made this statement about when in the first video we played of Ibrahim about the dollar circulating only, let me see, can I pull that back up? The dollar circulating
only once.
Right? What did he say, for 2 hours? Now we know that that's a lie. There's no metric. There's no financial institution. We've pulled that up here. There's no financial institution that keeps any metric that shows that how long dollars circulate, whether it's black, white, or Jewish, etc. This is some made-up myth that came out of some woman's book that she wrote. I think it was in the 90s or something like that. So I want to go here. I want to go here. While you was getting it together, Josh, I'm gonna just pull this up real quick. This is an article: Keep remittances flowing to Africa. So what Umar is telling American freedmen is that we need to take our pennies, dimes, nickels, quarters, dollars,
grit money,
and our grit money, right? And we need to support, forget the fact that government supported everybody else. Even in that report that I was reading from, one of the things that they break down in that report is not only do these model minorities come from the middle class of their own country, they also get red carpet treatment from this government in the form of financial, what's the word I'm looking for, man? Handout. They basically get handouts from the American government, something that we've seen go on and on and on and on. That's why I said, if you don't know this topic of reparations, be quiet, because you could be very loud and be very wrong at the same exact time. But we have 4.6 million black immigrants over here. Many of them are selected by the top universities over American freedmen. We've shown that in the report that I always pull up as well. Everything we deal with over here, we can pull up information to back it up, so we're not up here just screaming out our opinions and making it seem right, right? So this is from Brookings.edu. Keep remittances flowing to Africa. Let's blow this up a little bit. I want to show you all something, because these, just dealing with Africans, they're sending their money home. Umar is telling us, and people like the brother that was on my thread, and I hope he's listening and I hope he's learning, that we're taking our money and spending it with white supremacist institutions. Like, what does that even mean? What does that mean? To me, it makes absolutely
I'll tell
no
you what
sense.
it means.
Yeah,
it means that it means that you're paying for things that you need. Your basic necessities.
It means you're America. You're American,
right.
living
You're
in America. Yeah.
Spending your money in America, basically, right? We're family. Those are white supremacist tropes that y'all are repeating, and that people like Umar are repeating, and that some of your favorite speakers in the Nation of Islam are repeating. We got to call it. These Africans, right? Let's read this. And then I'm going to pull up that chart that I always pull up with foreign aid, right? So remittances. money sent by migrants to families back home provide a financial lifeline to millions of households. Remittance flows to low and middle income countries. Remittance flows to low and middle income countries reached $550 billion in 2019. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, surpassing foreign direct investment and official development aid. Whoa. So the money that African immigrants are making here in the US, not only do they have enough to spend on necessities, right? Because you got to pay your rent, like the brother that I used to work with, who was from Kenya. So he doesn't spend his money here at all. He pays his mortgage, he owns his car, he pays, his necessities, gas, food, et cetera, and the bulk of his money he sends back home. This is what he told me. He got his weight up, credit scores 800 across all 3 credit reporting agencies. Had over 40,000 in his what is it called? The IRA.
The 401k,
right? Got 40K. He's showing me this stuff because we got cool. And I would ask this brother questions, right? And it says these are only recorded flows. The true size, including those through informal channels, is even larger. So it's more than 550 billion. I mean, we can guess, right? Let's just put a round number out there that $700 billion in 2019 went to remittances, meaning people here that migrated to this country, doesn't matter the generation, but still send money to their home countries. And this is just Africa. Let's just estimate that year in 2019, they sent $700 billion. That's almost the so-called spending power of American freedmen in this country, aka African Americans, aka black folk. Regular,
So wait,
right?
I got
Regular
a quick
black
question.
folk, as that rapper from Africa
I got
said.
a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying immigrants send more money in remittances out of the country than they actually pay in taxes?
Man, hell yeah. If you're looking at $700 billion as an estimate, right? And as a matter of fact, forget the estimate. Let's just deal with the recorded number. $550 billion. I would be hard pressed to think that black immigrants are paying $550 billion in taxes in this country. That would be a tough one.
So
based on your immigration status, you're not paying taxes for the first 10 years anyway.
Whoa.
And the Democrats can't use that as an arguing point anymore because, see, now we know better, right? They can't say, well, these people are, the immigrants are contributing in tax dollars. Now, no, they're sending more out of the country than they're contributing in taxes.
And this is crazy. That's crazy. Okay, so let me because let's just get through this and we'll finish breaking it down and start shutting it down. I know brother Chris Larson is doing his space right now as well. Sister Shanna says she's going over there. Shout out to our brother Chris. Definitely shout out to our brother Chris. We love those readings of those reports. They are impactful. They are very, very impactful. So remittance flows to sub-Saharan Africa were recorded to be 48 billion in 2019. And this is just one part of Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa, $48 billion. But the true total is likely to be significantly larger. Nigeria alone received about half of total remittance flows to sub-Saharan Africa. In general, the economies of smaller, poorer, and fragile countries are more dependent on remittances. Now, we could stop right there. I'm going to stop sharing right there, and I want to pull up this chart that I always pull up because we want to totally debunk everything that Umar says, because we know that he's either lying or extremely ignorant or both. And this is a chart that we pull up all the time, right? So how much foreign aid the world receives from the United States. So not only do you have remittances, hear us, family, not only do you have immigrants over here sending money back to their own countries, you have the United States of America sending foreign aid. Let's look at some of the African countries. Ethiopia, 1.1 billion. Southern Sudan, 924 million. Uganda, 741 million. Tanzania, 626 million. Somalia, 584 million. Mozambique, 580 million. Liberia, 212 million. Mali, 230 million. Like, and we can keep going and going, and we see all of these different African countries receiving millions and millions of dollars.
So if you from Africa, you get to come to America, work an American job, make an American wage, in some instances not even pay taxes, right, over a group of people who built this country, who have the highest unemployment rate in this country, send that money back to your country, build your country up, and then go back to your country. But Dr. Umar says y'all don't owe us reparations and y'all the reason we over here in the first place. Make that make sense.
Make it make sense, family. Make it make sense. They will never. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
You know, and you know, just for people's reference, we understand that a lot of this money that's been pegged for foreign aid is actually spent with U.S. companies that are actually providing services or aid. Because, you know, basically, so let's say, for example, if you wanted to buy, let's say Israel needed some fighter jets or something like that. So what we'll do is we'll say, okay, we're going to provide Israel fighter jets. We're going to spend money with them. So Northrop Grumman, you know, we earmark this amount of money to, you know, to spend to create those fighter jets. And then, you know, I don't know exactly how that goes, but that, you know, I'm not going to, don't quote me on that particular example, but essentially a lot of this money is not going directly as direct aid, you know, like you think it is. It's actually provided some type of product or service that is aiding them. So that's my point I want to make, is it's not like, oh, hungry kids and you feed them and then you do that kind of stuff. A lot of times it's people that are working in these corporations, I mean, in these initiatives that are providing aid are American workers, American NGOs, or federal agency, you know, parts of federal agencies. A lot of them are defense contractors where we're getting rich. However, the value being provided is still going to those particular countries. Now, that's also not saying there's not value being extracted, but the whole point is, like, this is America is the place where everybody is coming to and everybody's looking to come to. And you know, you got to also look at the fact that we're the people that are getting overlooked and stepped over when it comes to spending money. Hey, look, man, America got money. They can spend all these other countries, and they put money in. They need to put money with the American freedmen who owe the debt. That's what it come down to for me. That's what it come down to. I put a link in the chat. I put a link in the chat to that what I was reading from the Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Report. So y'all look for yourself. Don't take Umar's word for it, because his word ain't really on these things. It's not good for. I don't know about the psychology aspect of it, because he says that's his area of expertise, but his area of expertise is not in economics. And like he said a couple things on the Breakfast Club, like it was like, hey, they spending $70 billion or something like that, you know. I was like, and then Charlemagne had to correct him, like, it won't that much, bro. Say, oh, it won't. Oh, okay, all right. So he doesn't really He's not even in the game to be real and factual. He's
That's
just
right.
trying to be sensational. So you
He's
can't really hear
obstructing.
people make them comments and take them seriously. Go get it for you. Go get the information for yourself. I put the link
Hey,
in there. Look at the chart. Go ahead.
Josh, there was a brother in the space. I got this like dude that's obsessed with me on Twitter, man. It's like weird homoerotic obsession this guy got with me, right? And he was in a Luke space last night with the rest of the Democratic shills. This guy said the reparationists are asking for $2 trillion. He said that's more money than this in the whole world. $2 trillion.
Wow.
The American
That's what
billionaires
Dr.
are,
Umar said?
no. This is
Oh.
this guy that was in the space. They all cut from that same cloth, though. They from the same ilk, if you will. He was saying that $2 trillion is more than all of the money in the world. American billionaires themselves, when you add up all of their money, is 4.8 trillion. I'm like, these people are not in this thing for the facts. They are in it to try to throw a monkey wrench in the cogs that they see spinning for our future success. And what's happening in Cali is leading the way and is setting the stage for this big fight that is the federal level, the federal reparations fight. And the fact that they were able to do that report, it's a blueprint already. There's no way that Narcan and Cobra would ever be able to come up with a report that would show why the United States of America has to pay someone who just got in this country last week or 60 years ago. They will never be able to produce a report based on any logic that will give them that same effect that the report that the California family put out or the California task force put out that Brother Chris is reading right now. So what we're dealing with is a bunch of obstructionists that are trying to run interference for the Democrats who really don't want this topic in the forefront. I am of the opinion that they want to push HR 40 so they could go ahead, get that GS 18 level pay that we've spoken about on this platform before. They want to get paid. They don't believe. I don't believe that Sheila Jackson Lee believes that reparations is a real thing. I do not believe that Narcan and Cobra believe that reparations is something that's attainable. I just don't believe that. I don't believe it at all. So, I mean, yeah, Lamar Kanye said they had 30 years to produce one. They haven't produced anything. And, well, they didn't actually have their commission yet to actually produce a report. But they could have still produced something. And I think they can't produce anything because they never really, I hear a lot of noise, Josh. I think that's you. They can't produce anything sound or logical. And so what they have in its place are a bunch of online trolls that are situated in our peripheral to make bad faith arguments and to make up lies about us and people that are on the task force. They're running with stories. Like I said, Sister Dr. Ma'at called me earlier, and it's basically based off of what Umar is saying about that 233,000. And we see that this wasn't even nothing final. It was just merely a suggestion that we believe that the mainstream media put out there with the purpose of rallying people up, especially the people on the right, because nobody wants us to have anything. They want us to remain low class, low bottom casted people glued to America's floor. And this way we resort to crime and criminality. We get arrested, we do time, we go and work for pennies on the dollar in these private prisons that have fisheries, that make leather belts, that make license plates, Some even you can get your dogs trained and have grooming services right at these prisons. You would be surprised at some of the prisons. Then you got the phone calls, right? You're making phone calls. You're spending so much money just on phone calls alone. It should be criminal that poor people that are arrested for crimes that are largely due to the fact that they don't have money, their poor families now have to fit into their already tight and strict budgets money to put on the incarcerated person's books, usually a black man, his books, just so that he can make phone calls for a few minutes out of a day. This is egregious, and these people are telling us we don't need reparations. And you got people like Umar Johnson who are caping for not only white supremacists, but the Democrats as well, saying that we need to have inner reparations first. Nobody else needs inner reparations. The Indians didn't need inner reparations when they got it here. The Japanese Americans didn't need inner reparations. What Umar ultimately is saying is that black people, and he repeats the tropes of not only the racists in white America, but the racists of all Americas, regardless of their national background, that black people are inherently effed up and that we shouldn't receive money that will help us. I was going to pull all of this stuff up today, but the the conversation I was going to pull up a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it would have been cool if you could have we could have played some of them clips, some more of them clips. Because when he says, well, basically he's saying we need to, no amount of money is going to do anything for you if you got a bunch of psychological problems and you need psychological reparations. But I just showed you we spend less money on fresh fruit and vegetables. I didn't show you how our expenditure for rented dwellings is way higher than even white people. I put it in the chat. I don't know if you wanted to share that little Joy, but just how much we spend on rent is higher than pretty much anybody in any other group. But how much we spend on own dwellings is much less. And the reason why is because a lot of us are living in concentrated in urban areas, and when we paying rent, and if we're not paying and living in urban areas, we're living in a situation where we're not owning, so we have to pay higher for rent because we don't own, and the cost is much higher. And I just showed you where we have 50% less income on average than white folks, and 100% less income on average household for Asians. So if you look on that, and if you can zoom in, look at the bottom, you see where it says rented dwellings.
Yeah, I can't zoom in on this one.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Well, y'all just look at that. It's real interesting, man, to see how people put all kind of stigmas on us, like entertainment. We spend way less on entertainment because we don't have it. We spend way less on alcohol because we don't have it compared to everybody else. See, we're always talking about and comparing our situation to other black folks. Compare it to everybody else in America. We the people who built America. And why is it that we get to enjoy America the least and have to still struggle the most when we built America? You can't say we don't need reparations because we got to give ourselves internal reparations. How does that even make any sense? If you too broke, you can't even buy fruit and vegetables, and but you want us to go and do therapy sessions and and have peace of mind. You want me to go do yoga on the beach and get my internal reparations that's gonna lower my blood pressure. No, I need good food, I need clean water, I need wealth, so I got peace of mind. So I'm not I just got a text from a family member, can I borrow some money? I'm thinking about, bro, I ain't got a whole lot of money to be doling out like that. You know what I'm saying? So These are the type of things that we need. If our wealth position change, you will see some of these disparities take care of themselves. Don't give me this. What we need to do for ourselves. That's the white supremacist trope. I love when y'all said earlier. I think it was Ibrahim and even Dre. Like if a white person say, Negro, you don't need reparations. You need to heal yourself. How would you take that?
That's
Heal
right.
yourself. Pull yourself by your own bootstraps psychologically. You know, forget all the damage that's done, the damage that you experience and what you seeing on a daily basis. Forget all the pressure that's put on you, the fears and stuff you got to live with. Like, I parked the car outside of the garage. I was trying to get my son to dribble basketball, whatever, in the garage, working on this hoop game a little bit, just to handle. And wife was like, "Hey, man, you can't be having a car outside the garage like that. Somebody gonna come and rob." I'm like, they breaking in the cars. I'm like, and I know that's not that's a common thing, but I just started that just made me think about like, oh yeah, you know, um, oh yeah, that's something that people probably think about a lot more than me because I don't live around too many black folks. I'm like, damn, if I was living
Mm-hmm.
where I used to live, I'd be having to worry about that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's freedman life. But I think you got something else you want to talk about.
No, I was just pulling up some stuff while you were talking, man. We've been on here about 2 hours and 45 minutes. So I wanted to start just winding down. Let's go to Ali. Ali, anything you want to share before we get up out of here? If y'all just want to keep the conversation moving along, I mean, we can do that as well. But we are coming up on 3 hours.
Yeah, no, I'm good, bro. I just kind of I was hoping we was gonna keep it at 2, but it's
Yeah,
hard.
yeah, yeah,
That's almost impossible, man.
yeah.
But go ahead.
Especially on a topic like we didn't even get in. Like we didn't get into. I know I ain't get it. I got so much stuff I wanted to pull up, man. I really wanted to ground this dude Umar into powder.
See, the
And
thing that didn't make any sense was before you get monetary reparations, you need to have you need to do internal reparations. But then he says if you get reparations, you don't have no institutions. Like, yo, well, how are you gonna get institutions if you don't get no wealth and no money? Like, how you gonna buy? How you gonna get in business? Well, give black folks all the music back. Like all this
remember
stuff.
that one?
Yeah,
Remember
come
that
on,
one,
man.
Josh? This dude was like, we need the masters for Michael Jackson and Prince. And I'm like, what is this dude?
Give us back all our
That was
inventions.
the
Like
weirdest
some of
shit
that.
ever. Whitney,
He wants to drive the reparations conversation. See, with everything the scholars been doing, everything Darity and all of the lawyers and economists been doing ain't good enough. Come talk to him. He gonna figure out a reparations plan.
Infantunde. Infantunde. I think I'm saying that right.
yeah,
Uh,
Infantunde, but he only does that because there is a plethora of videos of him saying, "You Negroes think you're gonna get reparations? They're not giving y'all reparations. The only reparations is Pan-Africanism." So, but now that the trend is there, him being the con artist that he is, and the Breakfast Club being this vehicle of ignorance, allows this fool to get up there and just say these things. And it's silly because it doesn't make sense. And it's like people don't use their like it's a three-dimensional thing. Like, listen, how could a man who's been collecting money for 12 years tell you what to do for your money? If he collecting donations for 12 years and didn't kind of like erect something, what can he tell you to do with your money? It's just weird. It's like, what are we talking about, Umar? Like, he just says things and people just like, you understand? Like, for example, y'all, anyone, like, I've asked him this before he blocked me. I said, okay, you're the Prince of Pan Africanism. He said, yes. Why you
have not one endowment from one of the 54 plus African countries. It should be your school should
Good
look like
question.
King Jaffe Joffa when he pulled up. Your school should look just like King Jaffe. It should be a Nigerian flag, a Liberian flag, a Sudan flag. You the Prince of Pan-Africanism. Where is the
That's right.
Nigerian endowment? Right? I need to see. I need
Self-proclaimed.
Morocco. I need.
That's
So
right.
listen, everything of him
They
is
sending
self-proclaimed,
their
right?
money back home, Dre. They sending their money back home,
Point, and
remittances.
that's my point, right? Everything about him is self-proclaimed. You never seen this man talk at Harvard. You never seen him talk at any scholastic institution in front of other intelligentsia, but he's the number one most requested black scholar. What?
and
Another
Your
self-proclaimed title.
and then he gonna
that's what
say
I'm saying.
entertainment is the number one export. 'Cause America don't have no exports. Entertainment is the number one export. Okay,
Which is
let's
weird.
break
Like,
down. Let's break down the top exports of America. Number one, oil and gas drilling, oil drilling and gas extraction. Number two, petroleum refining. Number three, aircraft engine and parts manufacturing. Number four, natural gas and liquid processing. Number five, brand name pharmaceuticals. Number six, organic chemical manufacturing. Number seven, plastic and resin manufacturing. Number eight, car and automobile manufacturing. And all of these are in the tens of billions. Number nine, navigational instrument manufacturing. Number 10, non-ferrous metal refining. So those are 10 industries. You don't hear entertainment on none of those, let alone music.
So he's just making it up.
No, he got it off social media, where he got the $223,000 from. Because these people don't read, they don't do no scholarly work. Charlemagne had him on his heels in that interview.
That's right.
He wasn't able to stick to his talking points as usual. Usually he'll come out and say, "I got 3 issues with reparations. Number one, even if we get the money, we gonna spend it because we don't have no black institutions," and he gonna go with the myth of black spending power, how the money don't stand in our community. Number two, he gonna say, "I don't see mental health on there enough," and he's gonna talk about all of the mental health issues that we have: black men not liking black women not liking black men, yada yada yada, black men killing each other, and all the other things we do, mainly around slavery and us living in poverty communities. And then number three would be all of these other people that was involved in the transatlantic slave trade, but not African. And that's, to him, that's his three. And what he'll do, because he has an agenda behind it, he'll say, what we need to do is build our institutions first. And that's kind of how he segue it from reparation to the FDMG Academy. So basically, what we should be doing is focusing on him and his institution.
that's all it is. It's all it is. The number one tactic of con artistry is affinity fraud. I'm black, you black, support me, right? I'm black, you black, this is what we got to do. It's never solution based, it's only rhetoric based in order to endow him. But once again, when you look at, like I say, you understand that 90% of people see him on the Breakfast Club. Because if you watched him, like I've seen him in action, you realize he's just weird, right? For example, let's say the school opens tomorrow. This is the same man that said you can't have a perm, you can't have straight hair, you got to have an afro or cornrows. So you done knocked out how many black female teachers? So what are we talking about? What does you having a natural hair or a little like a hot comb on it? What does that have to do with you educating black children? That's like, what do we, like, you know how weird that is? It's like, what are you talking about? Why? Because you got a cameo in a person that got a Caesar? It don't, like, it's just stupid. It's like, what are we talking about? Like, you named this school John Jock Jesseline Gym. So what? When is the school going to be operable? What do you have in place to actually take in children from other points of ventures of schools and bring them to that area? I don't want to hear about why we date white women. I don't want to hear about my grit money. I don't want to hear about why I should donate to you, to a Pan-Africanist who don't even have Pan-African donations from abroad. It doesn't make, it's all conjecture. He is literally Deco Malley 2020. It's Cotton Comes to Harlem. It's affinity fraud. Like, yo, believe in me, y'all. I'm black. Like, it's just weird, man.
Y'all familiar with the premises of the Lord Jamar, Dr. Umar interview
Yes.
I
where he
can't
tells
recall.
them about the transparency. Lord Jamal was
Oh
telling
yeah,
him
yeah,
about
yeah,
his
yeah, 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 yeah.
brother-in-law who was
Mm-hmm.
able to start a school, and he basically does it from a promise, right? And he was able to leverage that and keep leveling up till he has like a three-story building now, and it's doing very well. But it's a charter school, and he was telling Dr. Umar, I could put you in contact with them, and he's saying, I don't need, you know, I don't need them at all. I got my own people. I'm doing this my way, and if you want to help me, send donations, right? Like don't like that rolls off his mouth like he's saying his name, and he's telling them the only way you can help me, because I'm gonna do this my way, is to send donations. And him and Lord Jamal kind of get into a heated debate because Lord Jamal is saying, like, how do you know I haven't donated to your school? Trying to get some transparency from Dr. Umar. And Dr. Umar said, I'm only accountable to those who give me money. Those who don't give me money is just trolls. And y'all trolling me. So if you want me to be accountable to you, if you want me to be transparent, send me money. And since ain't none of y'all sent me no money, I ain't got to tell y'all anything. So Lord Jamal saying, well, what if somebody is inquisitive about your school because they want to send money? And he's saying, if you wanted to send money, I've been doing this for years. I would have sent the money by now. So anybody ain't sent money by now is a troll. So like this man, he lives in some type of alternative universe where maybe in that universe he may be the Prince of Pan-African. He may be this Pan-Africanist superhero, and maybe in that alternative universe his school is already up and running, and it's about to produce the next generation of Wakandians or something. But it just doesn't fly in the face of people that's willing to sit down with him and ask him simple conversations. If you notice, Charlemagne was just jabbing him, right? Charlemagne didn't want to argue with him because he treated him like the guest. He gave him his space and he gave him respect. But the jabs he threw at Dr. Umar just knocked him all the way off his feet. He just had him out there asking simple questions, just backing up, and let Dr. Umar trip over his two left feet. This man isn't prepared to deal with reality.
He's not. 100%. He's not. That's a
That's why
fact.
he would never come on a platform like this and build with brothers like us, because he would get absolutely cooked.
Right.
Oh,
Because all you got to do is bring up clips of what he said. You could
that's right.
use his clips against him. In
Boy,
I'm talking about any subject you can think of. There is a clip of Umar Johnson double talking something and he has no idea what he's talking about. I guarantee you.
This is a man that talked about the healing of the black community. Like, obviously, he's qualified, right? Even though he doesn't have a wife, so he can't have a black wife. He's qualified. He's mentally healthy. But if you take it back to the conscious stripper situation, right? Dr. Umar has been overtly he's critiqued the manosphere, right, on
Right.
numerous occasions, right? He's been forthright about this, about how
Right.
it's no good because it's black men versus black women, blah blah blah. But when it came to the conscious stripper, right, this was a woman he claimed she was a broken woman.
Right.
If you heard how he did not only disparage her, but disparage her son as well. And he's saying we don't qualify for reparations right now because we're not mentally whole. When you went down and not only broke down this woman, but you start attacking her son as well. Man, this man doesn't live in reality, man. He doesn't exemplify the same characteristics he's trying to place upon us for us to be able to qualify for reparations. But not only does he want our donations, right? He want gifts as well. Man, this man is out of his rabbit
Yo,
mind.
Ibrahim, this is the same man though. On one of his videos says conscious over cookies, right? But then he pauses and says, I can get the cookies because I'm fighting for black liberation. So okay, Like I can't get no cookies, right? Okay, so Umar gets the cookies because he's fighting to save black people. Like, what are we talking about? It's just a
He get the
weird.
money, he get the cookies, we get nothing.
Yo, somebody came on his live and said he's a child saving, building, crushing, cookie crusher. They was like, what a time to be alive. Yo, Umar just weird, man. I'm telling you. And like I said, I've had real conversations with him because of Abba knows because he's seen my show a few times where I had Randy on. Randy's aunt is literally one of his colleagues from where he actually used to work. And I know, like, so I've had like in-depth conversations with him, and I know he's not smart. And I just be like, who is this dude? And now he's literally like, just like you said, just donations. And Abba, before y'all go, I'm telling you, look up Umar. Before you go, look up Umar Johnson pays tribute to the ancestors in the graveyard. Look up that clip. Look up Umar Johnson pays tributes to the ancestors in the graveyard. That is the craziest thing I ever seen in my life, where he's in a graveyard talking about a dude most of us don't know, and they go and pouring the water. I'm like, what is this nigga doing? What does this have to do with opening up an institution? Is if you notice about him, like Ibrahim said, everything, all of his rhetoric, it goes away from his school, but it ultimately curves right back around the corner to say why you should donate to a school. So every topic goes away from the school and why it's not open, but then if y'all want to come together, donate to the school. Oh, you want to see more black boys dating black girls? Come to the school. It's just like, what are we talking about? Like, we're going to have a class making black toilet paper. We don't need white toilet paper. Come to the school. It's just everything is reverted back to come to the school without having a school. It's like, what are we talking about, man? Like, it's just weird.
The boom boom room. He got
the school is gonna be the cornerstone of everything we need in America, and then we'll be able to flourish.
But the funny part, and I said this earlier, is that the two ideologies of the men that he names the school after are oil and water. Frederick Douglass would not have rocked with Marcus Garvey. He wouldn't have rocked with him. Philip Randolph and none of those freedmen giants. And that, remember, we did the live stream here about Garvey, right? We broke down the problematic statements that Garvey was making. We broke down a whole bunch of stuff when it came to Garvey. And we showed the Stop Garvey movement because the stuff that he was saying was just not, in most of it, right, wasn't right and exact. It sounds much like what Umar is saying now, shame black people for their own conditions. And we broke that down. And there's no way Frederick Douglass would share in the ideology of Marcus Garvey. Hell, there was another black immigrant in that day, and Hubert Harrison, one of our greatest black immigrant allies, that he stopped rocking with Garvey. He's seen that this man was bugged out. The Hubert Harrison was trying to solve the Negro problem in America. And I got a whole book on this man's work, a great socialist, right? Even, what's his name? The old dude. What's his name, man? Jeez. His name escapes me right now. With the hair that was in the Matrix. I can't think of his name. Cornel West. Dr. Cornel West was like, Hubert Harrison was one of the baddest black men ever in this country because of his political understanding, right? He stopped rocking with Garvey. He's like, yo, this dude we not on the same thing. I'll see the American Negro issue and I'm trying to solve it. I'm not trying to place myself at the forefront of it and make up lies about having membership that spans over 4 million across the world. These are some of the things that Hubert Harrison was touching on. So, this whole thing is absolutely crazy. We had to get on here. like I said, I mean, just our general conversation was really enough to debunk everything that Umar says, the whole dollar circulating in the hood nonsense, and all of this stuff is myth that we buy. Y'all hear me use the word profligate a lot, that when we're speaking to this topic, that we're profligate when it comes to our money, and that we just spend recklessly, and we don't know money. That's why you hear people like Boyce Watkins always trying to push financial literacy first, right? It's like, well, we need financial literacy. We need you telling the people that have no money that they need to learn how to manage the money that they don't have, so that maybe one day when they get the money, at the bare minimum, they'll have the knowledge to, I mean, that makes absolutely no sense. It's the same thing that Umar is saying. There are so many different ways that our own people are telling us that we don't need reparations because we're going to blow it. Basically, we're going to spend our money and give it right back to white people, while these same people have no problem with these mythical black dollars not circulating in black neighborhoods when it comes to African immigrants who's sending $550 billion. And that's just what they're recording. Like I said, we could guesstimate that it's $700 billion that they've sent back to their own countries. They are taking money out of the country. There's no money in circulation necessarily from these people. They are using their money not to help build up schools in this country. They're using their money to help fund the GDP of their home governments and help their poor class people at home. They're paying for education. I think I heard someone breaking down how you could get you could become a doctor or a nurse over, I think it was in Nigeria, for like 4,000 US. 4,000 US. Don't quote me on this because I heard it and I never went back and verified it. But somebody could look it up. And if that's true, let me throw that caveat out there. If that's true, then how easy is it for you to come to America and send $4,000 back, $1,000 a month for the next, year, just to put somebody through college, and you're working this high-end job because you were selected over an American Freedmen at the collegiate level, at the university. Then you got the high-paying job. So you're able to make $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month to send $1,000 back to fund someone getting a proper education to become a doctor, nurse, etc. And we got our own people over here telling us that we got to take our rent money because we're not making $5,000 and $6,000 a month. Where many of our people are making $1,800 a month or $1,600 a month. Y'all seen the chart that we had up earlier that Brother Ibrahim was breaking down. You want us to take out of our little bit to put into something so we could build up our own institutions. It shows that many of our people are not reading, and they have made a habit of talking down to our people, and they don't hear themselves. They don't hear that they are condescending. They don't hear that they have adopted white paternalism, white supremacy. It's all white supremacist paternalism, because white supremacy is basically this idea that one people are superior than the other. And if you are superior, as is a parent is to his children, then we have to be helicopter parents, and we have to take our 30-year-old children by the hand constantly and show them what to do because they're not capable of thinking for themselves. Hence the term helicopter parenting, always hovering over your children even when they're grown. This is how white supremacy views us, and this is how many of our people who have adopted bootstrapperism narratives, this is how they see our people. And you always hear them saying the same thing. What was Umar saying? Black people, we didn't fund our own institutions. What do you mean? Nobody else has to fund their own institutions. These Hispanics came over here and built up their restaurants and their businesses. They got their start because the United States of America gave them the money. I can pull a whole PowerPoint up that I put together for the city of High Point, North Carolina's Reparation Commission, showing the millions and millions and millions, possibly billions of dollars that get spread out over Hispanic and Office of New Americas and all of the nonprofits connected to them. And they are using that money to build up these communities. They are then leveraging that money by building up businesses, by putting their people through college and school. I mean, people got to wisen up. You got to read the information and stop thinking that the stuff that you spew out of your own mind is somehow greater than the scholarship on the issue, because I'm going to remind you and we're going to remind you that it's not. So any closing words, Brother Ibrahim, before we get up out of here?
Nah, I'm good. I think if you watch this video, you'll understand Dr. Umar just doesn't know what he's talking about. We bought the chairwoman of the California Reparations Task Force on. We brought Chris from CJEC on. We broke it down. We showed you the graph. We showed you that 75% of Black Americans households make less than $63,000, right? About 20% of them make less than $13,000. That's per year, that not month, per year. So now we broke it down and we showed you the Black American household expenditures, right? Top 3, housing, food, transportation. Number 4, insurance. So I think we covered it all.
That's right. Brother Dre.
Just agree. I agree with everything y'all said, man. The only thing I'm gonna say, if your hero is talking down to you, he's not your hero. And that's
That's
just
right.
the bottom line. He's just as much as a man as you. If he doesn't understand your trope, your plight, your struggle, he's not your hero. He's just
That's
another
right.
man talking.
That's right. That's right. So, family, we came, we saw, we conquer, we do what we do here at Be the Power. Shout out to everybody that was tuned in. Shout out to everybody that contributed to the platform. It's time for us to do what we do. And over this next year, we're gonna really, really pump it up, man. We're gonna kind of rearrange the platform a little bit. And we're going to build, like I said, we're going to build up that other channel. And again, I'm going to put it out there. If you're interested in, providing some content, you want to do something maybe weekly, come through, hit me up. Y'all know how to contact me. Naheem at usadof.org. If you have some experience in media, Naheem at usadof.org. Let me put my email address in the live chat. Even if you watch the replay, you still will be able to see my email address that's in the live chat. Honors, Brother Vince. Peace, Sister Riri. Peace to everybody that tuned in tonight. I leave you all with the motto of the platform, and that is, don't just fight the power, become the power. And then and only then will you have the power to make a change. And with that, I say peace.